Peace and power, family. Dr. DAW back in the building. Special guests, family. Y'all want to get your seat ready. Get your thinking pad ready. Get your notes ready. Powerful brother in the building, Professor Akil Parker. 100 years after Woodson. Divide and conquer tactics in public schooling. Again, 100 years of Woodson. Divide and conquer tactics in public schooling. We'll see you on the other side.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.
Claim your
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud.
Africanness. Claim your Africanness. The words of our dear Baba, I will say at that time, elder and ancestor, Dr. Amos Wilson. Family. Again, as I said on the other side, we got a special guest in the building today. Make sure you, as you come in, you thumb up this video, you like this video, you share, please share. Share. This is going to be a powerful conversation. You know what I mean? And you know, we gonna get into some things today with Professor Parker. I mean, I know y'all know Professor Parker. Professor Parker, you know, he's been going around. He's been traversing the all the podcasts. And we finally got him in this seat. Our dear brother, you know, I appreciate his mind. You know what I mean? I appreciate his mind and all the things he do for our community, because what he does is very, very needed. So with no further ado, family, I want to ask brother Professor Akil Parker. He said, "You gonna keep calling me Professor?" Maybe. It just depends, brother. You know, I kind of go with the flow. But I'm gonna say this, dear brother, I really, really appreciate his mind and his analytical way of looking at things, his logical way of looking at things, his mathematical way of looking at things, and making sense out of math, and making math more than something that we just learn so that we can move on and get our, what is it called, our high school degree, our diploma. So again, family, like this video, share this video. And brother Parker, as I do all the time, I'd like to ask my guests to kind of tell the people why they are essential to the conversation. You know, why are you essential? In other words, who are you? Tell me a little bit about you, what, you know, your works, and how you derive at this moment here and doing all the great things you do.
Yeah, who am I? That's a philosophical question.
Absolutely.
But I'll give you the more concrete, you know, answer to that. I'm a black man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Pan-Africanist. You know, I was born into that, you know, and when I came of age, came into adulthood, I really started studying the ancestors. So Pan-African nationalism makes sense to me, and it stands up to mathematical scrutiny.
Pan-Africanism makes sense to you.
Makes sense to me.
Oh man, you starting off kind of tough.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh, so Pan-Africanism makes a lot of sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I infuse a lot of that into my mathematical teaching.
Mm.
You know, trying to, you know, systematics
Systematics
is something that is a teaching framework or a teaching methodology where I use Black history to teach mathematics, and I use mathematics to teach Black history in different ways, many different ways. So I end up, evoking like a lot of our, African ancestors, our African American ancestors, and use their experiences and their biographical history to bring the math to life and take the mathematics out of the abstract and make it more tangible, So that's some of the work I do. And I realized that math is a tool of liberation. And we really, those of us that are very proficient and have mastery over mathematics, we got to stop gatekeeping it. We got to really share it with the people. What is it?
Hold up.
Yeah.
They gatekeep mathematics?
Definitely.
All right. Did you get past your part where you would explain, or you still doing that? Because it sounds like you about to jump in.
I'm still doing it.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure, because that's a topic right there in itself. But keep going. I'm sorry.
So I'm also raised in Baltimore. Wasn't born in Baltimore, but I'm raised in Baltimore.
We accept you.
Yeah. When I first moved here back in '87, lived on Kirk Avenue at a house that's no longer there.
How old were you?
Now I was 7.
Okay, you're a Baltimorean.
Yeah.
Look, he don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Look, you've been here a long time. Yeah. 7 years old. You got in some fight. Did you get in a fight before?
Yeah.
Okay. Go.
Yeah. So it started out at Coldstream Park Elementary. Went there for half of a year. My mom was real aggressive about making sure myself and my siblings had the best educational opportunities. So she, kind of fought to get me into Roland Park. So I ended up at Roland Park for the second half of 3rd grade, ended up staying there through 8th grade, through middle school. Then went to Poly. And then from Poly, went to Morehouse for a year down in Atlanta. Ended up transferring.
You just Black excellence, huh? You just Black excellence. Excellency.
Some people might say that.
I know.
But I hope they say it for the right reasons.
I appreciate that.
They say it for the appropriate reasons. I hope they don't measure my worth by my proximity to Eurocentric institutions. I hope that's not what they're doing.
Okay.
A lot of us do that. I've even done that in the past. Before I read Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro.
Okay, we're gonna talk about all that
before I got into that. But I transferred, came back home, came back to Baltimore, transferred to Morgan, matriculated through Morgan, and then after I finished at Morgan, relocated to Philly, then became a Philadelphian.
Oh, I thought you I literally thought that you had gone to school up in Philly. Okay.
No, I was here. Went to Philly at the end of 03. I finished Morgan December 03. But I dropped out of Morgan for 2 years. I was a college dropout.
You was a college dropout?
I was a college dropout.
Kanye wasn't the first, huh?
No, not the first. I wasn't the first neither. But I was a college dropout.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the math is right.
For a moment, I didn't see the value in college for a brief moment. But I got out there, was working, was making a couple dollars, but I was like, this can't be life. There's got to be more to life than this. And I only had 3 semesters left. So I said, let me go back and finish my degree. Plus, I had met a girl who was from Philly, went to Drexel, and I was serious about her. She was serious about me. Right. I'm like, well, I don't want to be in a situation where we're not equally yoked. So where she got a college degree and I don't. So that kind of motivated me to go back and finish my degree. So went to Philly. Started out as a bank examiner, left that profession, got into education, and I was a high school math teacher, for a long time. And I've just been, going through different experiences with mathematics education, just in different modalities and whatnot. And now, I started all this math back in 2017. Started out as like a math tutoring company.
Yeah.
And it's grown into professional development work, consulting work, and really community work. We do the summer program here in Baltimore, the Histematic summer program.
We accept you back.
This will be our third summer. Summer doing
we let you travel down here.
Yeah. So I tell people I got dual citizenship.
You certainly do. I'm
here a lot. My youngest son lives here. My youngest son is here with my ex-wife.
Absolutely.
So I'm here all the time.
We like we like that you have dual citizenship. We appreciate you.
They're gonna dual citizenship. So yeah, just trying to do the work, man. Trying to push back on a lot of the negative propaganda about mathematics that we get poisoned with. You know what I mean? We get poisoned with all this negative propaganda about the uselessness of mathematics, its futility, how overly difficult it is and insurmountable it is. And even early in my own teaching career, like I didn't have a lot of good rebuttals when people would make those negative comments, students and even adults, grown men and women. But now I got all the rebuttals. So like nowadays, I want all the smoke.
The rebuttals about what?
About the usefulness of mathematics. People saying I don't need to learn that. I'm never going to use it in life. What I need to know that for, all that kind of stuff, you know. So yeah, because I think that's really the major issue. There's a lot of emphasis on changing instructional methods in schools, increasing, number fluency, which is very important.
Yeah.
But one major missing piece is propaganda. There has been so much negative propaganda about mathematics, and not enough of a concerted effort just to try to convince people that math matters and that they can do it. So
and they can do it.
That they can do it. Because I think if you just if you get people, especially young people, even adults, to think that the math is doable, then they'll try to do it. And once they try to do it, then they'll have success at it.
Yeah.
But oftentimes there's this mental blockage, because a grown man or woman might be like, well, I remember in 7th grade when my teacher yelled at me and made me feel dumb in front of the whole class, and I hated math ever since then. And they never healed from that. And now they got kids and they can't help their children. So now it's like, it's intergenerational educational trauma. So it's passed on to the next generation. And even like a lot of parents are well-meaning, but even when you saying to your child in a calm way, like, I was never good at math, that is defeatist. And that plants a seed in the child's mind that, like, well, maybe I'm not meant to be good at math neither.
Absolutely.
And then also another part of the problem is, if we equate like mathematical ability to success in life, and then that young child is looking around their house, they're like, yo, like, this is a pretty nice house. I'm comfortable. Y'all got cars. We got central air, and I'm not missing for nothing. I get the Jordans when they come out. And you saying you're not good at math, so maybe I could still be good and not be good at math either. So why should I try in class?
So what are you saying essentially about this math thing here?
I'm saying we all need it. We need to start running toward it. We got to start running toward it, because it's really a tool for liberation, because it's deeper than the equations on the board. It's deeper than the multiplication table is important. You should memorize your multiplication facts, but it's deeper than that. It's really about developing critical thinking ability. And we need critical thinking ability more than probably anything, so we can solve problems. Critical thinking ability. Yeah, and analytical reasoning, critical thinking.
So hystematics. I'm dying to ask you this question, the hystematics.
Yeah.
I just want to throw it in on you. Can I throw one in on you?
Sure. I'm ready.
All right, again, family. 100 years after Woodson, divide and conquer tactics. Why can't I get this out today? Let me say it again. I want to say it fluent one time. Can I do it one time for the people? 100 years after Woodson, divide and conquer tactics in public schooling. I almost got it. I didn't get it. I mean, it was almost there, but nonetheless. Professor, the question is, hystematically, when we look at the 100 years of Woodson and these wars that we see going on in our community, and I heard you say you have a strong, or at least some level or degree of, it sounded strong to me. Maybe you can qualify that for me or quantify it. But the thing is, this 100 years of Woodson, and there's this debate about whether Black history is African-American history, or is it the month, the celebration, and even, I don't even want to think so, Black History Month, let me say that. And what it's all about, is it only for Black people here in America and at the exclusion of our diasporic and continental family?
So if you want to reframe it and repurpose it and create a new holiday, then it could be, or a new recognition it could be, but I think we should go back to what Woodson wanted and what Woodson was about back in 1926.
Hold. So you saying we should do what? We should go back to what Woodson wanted.
Yeah, what Woodson wanted. I mean, he's the founder. He's
okay,
the founder
hold
of
up.
Negro History Week.
So we're gonna do some hystematics?
This is systematic.
All right, hold up.
Break it down. Break it down.
My dear brother's gonna break it down.
Hey, so we go back to 1926. That's, we do the math on that.
Mhm.
So that's 100 years ago. 2026 minus 1926. That's 100, right? He starts Negro History Week, which falls between, Douglas's birthday and Lincoln's birthday. But also, here's another thing we got to do. We got to talk about the goals and objectives, just like teachers got to do goals and objectives, right? Woodson's goal was not for Black people to focus on their history for that week in February in 1926.
Let's do it.
As an educator, as a historian, a teacher, just a solid Black man, his goal was for us to be studying our history all year round, perennially. Negro History Week was like halftime, where we reflect on what we have done for the past 12 months, and we talk about what we're about to get into for the next 12 months, or maybe even for the next 5 years or 10 years or 20 years.
That's the mathematics.
Because we need long-term planning. Right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And I'm thinking like 1926, Woodson understood the connection between Africans in America and Africans on the continent and Africans in the Caribbean, Africans in Brazil. Woodson understood that. Woodson had a global mindset because I've read his work. I've read his the miseducation of the Negro, the education of the Negro. I've read biographical information on him. I've read his own words.
I'm messing with you. I'm asking you to show your math.
So you got to do the knowledge. You got to do the math. You go into his own work. So, imagine Woodson saying that we shouldn't address the Haitian Revolution. That would be ridiculous. Haitian Revolution, more math, 1791 to 1804, 13-year struggle.
That's been a major argument, by the way.
Where are our ancestors? Because I claim them.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Defeated not only the British, not only the Spanish, the French too. 3 major European superpowers.
Yeah.
Our children need to know about these stories. We need to know about the wins, not just the losses. Because they quick to tell you they a lot in Eurocentric education or schooling. Your history starts in 1619. Your history starts as a footnote of my experience. That's what the Eurocentric mindset is.
Yeah.
Right? From our own mindset, we should be subjects, not objects. This is what Woodson wanted, right? We study our history. We know about our history.
Yeah.
Right. So in Haiti, for that 13-year period, Toussaint's going to war, Dessalines going to war. Dessalines ends it, wins the war. Right.
Yeah.
But what effect does that have on Africans in the United States? What happens in 1800? 1800 is Gabriel Prosser's planned rebellion in Richmond, Virginia. What happened with a lot of the French and a lot of the landowners and the planters and the slaveholders that was down in Haiti? They were scared. They was haul assing. They're like, we got to get out of here. These blacks are taking over.
Yeah.
A lot of them come to the United States.
Yeah.
They bring their enslaved Africans with them. Then a lot of the enslaved Africans that are here in the United States, they catch wind of it. They're like, oh, they're getting busy down there in Haiti.
Yeah.
We could do the same thing. It's motivation. 1811, German Coast Rebellion, Charles de Lande, down in New Orleans. They get it popping, and it's not to say that rebellions started in the 1800s. They didn't. We was always fighting.
Yeah.
We was always fighting. We were never not fighting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Double negative. That's algebra. We were never not fighting. Means we was always fighting. Connection between the English language and mathematics. A lot of people try to create that, maintain that false dichotomy between, I'm a math person or I'm a reading person. Well, let me let you know, you can't be a quote unquote math person. I'm not sure exactly what that means to be a math person, but you can't be a math person without being a reading person. because you got to be able to read analytically and understand the problems that you're confronted with so that you can then solve them. But there's such a connection, you know, between, you know, all of our experiences as people of African descent. So what I say is we should go back to Woodson. And Woodson was very clear about us being African and our connection to Africa. And that history must be included. Now, if somebody don't want to include that, that's on them. I'm kind of sorry to hear it. I kind of feel bad for them because I'm like, it's so much that you're going to miss out on, you know, trying to just strictly localize everything. Because like I say, like a win for me, like throughout my teaching career, whenever I meet Haitian students, I'm like, yo, like I rocks with y'all because of Dessalines and Toussaint and whatnot. I feel connected because we all African.
You feel a connection.
I feel the connection.
But, you know, a major part of the argument is that we have to center our history because when they say our, they're speaking and they use the word FBA or African American or especially FBA. They're saying that when we allow others, now I'm just kind of like quoting them, paraphrasing some things they have said, that it decenters our own, and hence there's a threat to our own history here in the States.
I just disagree with that. That just doesn't make sense because it's a both and situation.
Oh boy.
Just like I talked about like just now with the Haitian Revolution. So we talk about the Haitian Revolution. We can talk about Gabriel Prosser and Charles Delon at the same time.
Yeah.
We can talk about all that. And then so I would understand if somebody adopts a Eurocentric viewpoint on Black History Month and you expect to only talk about quote unquote Black stuff for 28 days, then it's like, oh, we got limited time. We only got time for this. But it's like, bro, what did Woodson say? Woodson and many other scholars, we need to be studying our history year round anyway. Black History Month, just like Negro History Week used to be, is just halftime. We reflect on what we've been doing. So this is like, it's not even, to me, it's not, I think it goes back to the ideology of like, what is Black History Month by definition? And how do you define it? A lot of us have received our not our marching orders, but our definition of Black History Month from white people. And was one of the many things Bobby Wright comes to mind. He says we cannot use white definitions to explain Black phenomena.
Absolutely. So
we can't define Black History Month by white people, because what the white people do is they'll say, okay, well, let's talk about some Black stuff in this month. Let's recognize and remember Black. And what they're doing is, again, we're footnotes in their history.
Yeah.
So a lot of us buy into that. So if you buy into that, then maybe I can see the logic in what they're saying, because you think we can only focus on Black people stuff in that 1 month. But what you going to do in March? Black history is relevant in March, April, May, June, July, August, all year round.
And in fact, as I think you articulated that's exactly what Woodson he argued that we should do.
That's what Woodson wanted. So go back to the source, go back to the creator.
And that was my argument. That, so are you saying that if Woodson wanted Black History, Negro History Week to become 365 days a year, now that we still should exclude other African histories?
Not at all. Yeah, he didn't. He wouldn't want that.
Yeah. That's what
because he was studying the
It doesn't make
history.
logical sense.
And he wrote about the African history.
Absolutely.
You know, like he was clear.
But
Woodson was clear, and not just Woodson, but many other scholars.
So I'm just curious, and I know in today's fan, we're going to get into the miseducation and the divide and conquer tactics in public schooling, and hopefully I can even extend this conversation to schooling in general. You know, because even at the collegiate level, you know, there's a lot of, and I also talk a bit about that miseducation and how difficult. Look, I just want to disclose. Teaching in institutions, even though they might look Black on the surface, and even though people come there with very strong ideas about Blackness, it's very difficult at times. I mean, I'm saying, what I mean is you have to have a certain level of emotional capacity to even try to get students to see, like Woodson, what he argued that we should do, to get them to relearn and unlearn the Eurocentric ideas and implement them. In fact, what's the word? Implant more healthy African Black ideas, frameworks, methodologies, what have you.
Yeah, and this, I just thought of something. In light of the questions you just asked me, it makes me think about multiculturalism.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Dr. Adelaide Sanford talking about multiculturalism in a lecture years ago, and talking about it has no teeth. Like it's rebranded white supremacy. Multiculturalism.
Well,
so multiculturalism is what leads us to feeling like, well, I got to talk about Black stuff. My month is February because these white folks said we're gonna talk about the Blacks in February. We're gonna talk. When is Asian Heritage Month? Like, what's that, like one of them other months? Italians this month, these people this month. So it's like, if I accept that definition, and I feel like, okay, February, my time to shine. Let's go. Let's get it, baby. Right? It's like, hold up, bro. Why do you accept that definition? You should be studying your history January 1st to December 31st every year. You should be recognizing your history January 1st to December 31st every year. You don't have to accept that paradigm and that framework. Like now, but if you out here trying to get some money from some white folks and you got to get in line and bow down, then that's a different situation. But generally speaking, you don't have to accept that reality. That is their reality they're trying to impose.
I don't know. I think you're going to have to come for a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, because you're bringing up some terms. Like, I actually teach multiculturalism, right, at the master's and the PhD level, and it is one of the most difficult things to teach when you have gone through the process that Woodson proposes.
Basically, when you know better.
It's a very difficult thing. Especially when you're trying to teach it to Black students. White students is difficult, but it's just a whole different thing. But when you teach multiculturalism to Black people, it can be exacerbating. I mean, it can be very stressful. In fact, I'm teaching social justice right now, and social justice is what they call the 5th dimension of counseling. Multiculturalism being the 4th dimension, and you have to understand that our people, our students, those who have gone through these educational institutions to treat and heal and provide therapy for our communities, have been educated in a way to really literally maintain the status quo. And I want to get back, and this also ties back to something you said earlier, much earlier, is that I was using a little levity when I said Black excellence. You are Black excellence.
Again, definition, just like Black History Month.
Right.
What is your definition of Black History Month?
Absolutely.
Different people got different definitions of it. Some people, in terms of Black History Month, they want to be recognized by the white man.
Absolutely.
We've made that mistake too in the past. We leave a woman out.
Right.
She's just as guilty. She was on the plantation too. Right. They want recognition. And for them, that's excellence, and that's
absolutely.
Like and a lot of people that claim to be militant, still their militancy does not decenter whiteness.
It doesn't.
So you got the people that's like, I have undying love for whiteness and for the white community, right? No matter what they do, you might look at them as like the conservatives, the right wing, them guys. But then you got the people that are mad. So on the surface, if you are not as well studied, you might think, okay, well, that brother's kind of militant. That's just a kind of militant, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Talking this, talking that, but really, they just want recognition.
Or they're militant with the wrong download, and with their militancy comes from liberal white supremacy. I call it white matriarchy. Look, I'm sorry, it does like. The white woman has gotten too many passes. I don't know. You have to do this mathematically for me. The equation is not balanced. Because the fact is, you're going to keep putting this white man up here, but exclude the white woman. I have a problem with it. And then, because we didn't put her on the level of that somehow she's been oppressed similarly or differently oppressed, but to some similar degree.
Right.
And that becomes problematic for me when you own me. Or you own my people. That becomes problematic when I know that you say he winked at you and now he's dead. Right. That becomes a problem when I understand that even though I might be your professor, that your little cry has a lot of institutional power.
Yes.
You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? So these are the things that multiculturalism, and I'm saying, I see Dr. Ball, I don't know if that's a handkerchief, somebody's whining or crying. Peace, Doc. You know, and I was speaking to, I think I briefly said to Dr. Ball this idea about, like, I really do think, like, what's my dear sister name? I mean, I'm not intersectionality. I can't think of her name right now.
Is it it's not we no I forget her name. It's in my mind.
It's in your mind.
Yeah, but
it's in mine typically. Kimberly Crenshaw.
Okay, yeah.
So typically, so I have much struggle with that framework. I think there's some utility to it, but what happens is it has, and she's been guilty of it as well, because all you have to do is listen to her. And they begin to utilize, in this, you can break it down mathematically, they begin to utilize this theory of, or model of intersectionality that says that we are differently oppressed in different ways, and we have these multiple intersecting identities, and they use the whole, you know, you come through the street and all that, and, you know, you got these different intersections or what have you. So now now they have you're oppressed because your oppressed identity because you're black, then you're because you're a woman, and because your gender, and because your ability, and so on and so forth. The reality is, then what people start to do is utilize that is a form of measuring compounded oppression, and it's just not that simple. And that becomes a problem, because it's not a tool that should be used like that, but it is being loosely, if not, I'm going to say it has been used like that in some ways. Her own language, and she said, it's compounded oppression. So that would mean that there is it's a higher level of oppression and it's just not that.
I wish at this point, I wish I could respond, but I haven't studied her work.
Yeah,
so I'm not in a position.
You're not in a position.
Not in a position to respond. I don't want to just start talking.
Well, just don't start talking.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to be
but you say it again.
I want to be one of them guys.
Well, don't start.
Yeah.
But the reality is now. But I would argue that it is a problematic framework. It is a multicultural framework, by the way. Okay. And in fact, let me give you an idea. See, the fact that you could say a black man is that becomes in the intersectional framework, because you're a male, you somehow have that is your privilege. You become, that maleness in you becomes a privileged position. And then some people take it as far. I'm not saying Crenshaw, but some people in these multicultural spaces, what they will say is, and I understand why they would do it, because she doesn't do a great job of correcting them, and sometimes she actually joins in with them. What happens is they will begin to say things like, well, because you are male. Okay, I'll give you an example of some comps that one of my students wrote, and she's a white woman. She was working on her PhD, and so what she said was, because she was given a hypothetical, and the hypothetical was that she would be supervising a black male who's older than her. So what she did was use this intersectional framework to say, okay, he's black, that's an oppressed identity. Okay. I'm white, that is a privileged identity. He's a male, that is a privileged identity. I'm female, that is a oppressed identity. He's older, that is a privileged identity. So when she starts stacking the cards up, let's not even talk about Crenshaw. Let's talk about my student and how she used it.
It sounds what's coming to mind is, it sounds like they're using this framework to quantify oppression.
Yes.
And so my question would be, what is the criteria for the numerical factors that you apply to each type of oppression? Yeah. That becomes my question, because like, what are you saying that, like, how much, what is the quantity, how do you quantify his blackness? How do you quantify her gender? Like, those are the questions that come to mind in terms of being able to make a final analysis of And I guess what is it like? Are they trying to measure like who would be more oppressed?
They would say oppressed? That you have compounded oppression.
Compounded oppression. Okay.
And so and not just that you're differently oppressed.
Okay.
And I would go with that.
That makes me think. It makes me think of compound interest.
Yeah. So how's that work?
How do you? Well, so on an investment, right? Which is why when Europeans in 2026 will say, well, I have nothing to do with slavery, right? You do, because there's a compounded benefit that you received because we live in a white supremacist racist society where there's a dividend that is essentially paid to you because of the history of this country being built on white supremacist chattel slavery. The value of the investment, increases, but then the increased amount, it's like compound interest versus simple interest. With simple interest, you have an interest amount that is applied in a certain time frame, like either every month, every year, or whatever. And it's the same amount every year. However, when it's compounded, you take the new amount and your principal changes. So the principal is the base amount of money that you start with, or the base amount of the investment, the beginning investment, right? So you start out with $100, right? Simple interest, if it's a 5% interest rate, you calculate 5% of 100. 5% of 100 is $5. So every day you're getting every month, every year, rather, if it's annually, you're getting $5 every year. Year one, $5. Next year, another $5. Next year, another $5. Compound interest is like this. After year one, you get the $5. That's $105, right? Now your principal is different. You're not basing your interest rate on the original 100. Now you're basing it on the 105. And it's going to grow even more. It's going to grow exponentially. Now we talk about exponential growth. So we again, all roads lead to math is something I say. Like, so now we're back to the algebra. So for all the people out there to say we should replace math courses and algebra 2 courses and replace them with financial literacy courses, there is no financial literacy without algebra. It doesn't exist. And then let me say this too.
Okay.
Like, with financial literacy, I know it's a buzz term.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
But either concurrently or prior to, we really need economic literacy.
Right.
Because when you really get into the financial literacy, intelligent youth should be able to say that are taking these courses in school or in the community or wherever, after school program, Saturday program, Sunday, summer program, wherever, they at some point they should realize, like, bro, we got to do all this to defend ourselves from predatory practices. Why does the system even allow for this in the first place, bro? Why can't we start to have a conversation about replacing the system and developing a new system and a different system where we don't got to be constantly on the defensive? Like, why I got to worry about payday lenders? Why is there a financial incentive for somebody to open up a payday lender? Why does a check cashing place need to take 20% of my check if I don't have a bank account? All of that is predatory. Car dealerships are a lot of times are predatory. A lot of times people that rent apartments, property management companies, they predatory. There's so much such a predatory nature among all of this. And what financial literacy does is it can teach you how to navigate all that, which is cool. We do need to know how to navigate all that because this is the system that we live in currently. But at some point, then we got to think about economic literacy, because it's the economic system that creates this winner versus loser situation where you got to have losers in this system. So the financial literacy is meant to say, okay, well, let me educate these select people so that maybe they could be the winners, but it's still going to be a lot of losers, because that's the only way monopoly capitalism can function. It's got to be a lot of losers. So that's the thing. But back to the, Europeans and compounded, interest and whatnot, and compounded oppression. That's what it makes me think of. It makes you think of compounded interest, and it just growing, the different types of oppression, get multiplied by each other, and it increases exponentially. And I'm wondering about the numbers though.
Right. And so whether or not that is the intent, people take it that way. So when you use the word compounded, you could say, well, that just means multiple. Or is it people begin to, you were about to say something?
No.
But people begin to see it as you're adding or multiplying oppression.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just saying, well, there's these different ways I'm oppressed, I think compounded, putting the word compounded on it becomes very, it would almost have one assume that you mean is more.
You know what it makes me think of too. So again, I'm ruminating because, and again, I'm not familiar with her work. I'm only familiar.
We're talking about my students, so you can talk.
Okay. So,
hypothetical. This student, you don't know. I didn't name a name.
But I'm thinking
this is how she's using it.
But I'm thinking in terms of intersectionality. Like I've heard the term. It's been thrown around a lot. I've seen it on the internet. I've heard people discuss it, but I've never read the work. But what it makes me think of is like how do we calculate a GPA? Right. It's a weighted average, right? You apply a certain amount of quality points, you know, so a 4-credit course has more weight than a 2-credit course, or than the 1-credit course where you just show up once a week or whatever, like, right? So again, I'm wondering, like, does that play a part, right? Like, and so what are the weights going to be? And then who determines what the weights are going to be, and how do you determine what the weights are going to be? And is that agreed upon? Like, what weight does Blackness get? What weight does being a female get, or being a woman get? Yeah. Right. What weight does being old get versus being young? What weight does growing up in poverty get? And so where do we how do we arrive at these things? Right. And what data is used to arrive at these conclusions and to come up with these values? Right. So I think, you know, so for me, that's another thing that comes to mind. Like, so again, so now I'm interested in, like, studying that work now, like studying intersectionality now, because now I'm wondering. Now I'm really wondering, because when I hear a part of hystematics is, one of the elements of hystematics is numerical and verbal triggers. Verbal triggers would be like terms that are used in mathematics, but that you see in other, Neely Fuller Jr. areas of human existence. Right? Yeah. So when you see the term in another area of human existence, like outside of a math course, then you say, okay, well, how does this relate? Now I got an entry point now. Because now, let's say somebody talking like oppression is compounded. So now we're talking about compounding in algebra. So, you know, so now it's making me, you know, think about, you know, so I'm interested in looking at the work and seeing like what other like mathematics is embedded within the work. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just a theory without any of that. So what I mean, so I'm just saying, you know, there are theories and there are also models that do measure things like that. You know, there's a whole field called psychometrics. You know what I mean? And basically, look, he said, so, but there's research done to help us quantify things like depression. Right. There's research done on large samples to quantify anxiety and trauma and even racism. Yeah. So it's not even just the fact of measuring what Black is now measuring the oppression. Yeah. So how do you now measure the oppression on that which we call Black? How do you measure how being Black, like how do you quantify that? And how do you quantify what it is to be a Black woman or Black male? Yeah. And how do you say a Black male is more or less oppressed, or Black woman is more or less oppressed? How do you quantify that, and what variables are you using? So you have to really look at those things, and I know that your mathematical mind can go ahead. It's a lot of variables. Yeah, it's a lot of variables, and like to that point. So this brings me to some of my propaganda. But it's mythology, by the way. Let me just let you know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the framework doesn't do a thing, but we've been wildly inappropriately using the frameworks. Okay. And theories in general, yes. What I was gonna say was, this reminds me of some of my pro-mathematics propaganda, which is one of the major responses, one of the very popular responses that people make when you attempt to teach them mathematics, whether you be a classroom math teacher or whether you're, you know, just a person that's out and about talking positively about math. You often hear people say, well, I ain't never gonna need that. Why do I need to learn that? This conversation is about a framework that probably already has affected public policy, has affected the thought processes of a lot of people, and in turn, as a result, has affected the lives of many people, right? And what we're also talking about is the quantitative nature of it, quantitative component of it, or the quantitative component that is needed to exist if it doesn't already exist. So one of the things I say to people in my pro mathematics propaganda is this. It's like, bro, you could say that you're not going to need it, but do you ever consider the people that do use the mathematics? And what are they using the mathematics for? So if we think of math as like a weapon, right? There are people that know how to use the weapon, and there are people that don't know how to use the weapon. So what happens when you show up to that fight and you got to go up against somebody that knows how to use the weapon and you don't?
Yeah,
it's just like showing up to a gunfight and you don't know how to use a gun, or showing up to a knife fight, you don't know how to use a knife.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen to you?
Right.
We often never think of the person that devalues mathematics, never thinks of, well, damn, like, well, who does know how to use it? And what are they using it for?
Right.
What are all these people with bachelor's, master's, and PhDs in mathematics doing with their skill sets? Who are they working for?
Yeah.
They're working for the government. They're working for private industry.
Right.
They're working for companies where they can create algorithms,
yeah,
use formulas, use all the mathematics that they've learned in their life to create and maintain systems that affect all of our lives. And then, so for you to say, for a person to say, well, I don't need to know all that, you're basically capitulating. You're making you're making yourself you're creating a victim status for yourself, because you're going to be living at the mercy of the people that do know the mathematics. And the math is in everything, right? Whether it's algorithms on social media, whether it's advertising, whether it's statistical research and analysis. One of the things we see all the time, we see, if you don't understand statistics, somebody will tell you to your face. Somebody will play in your face and tell
Absolutely.
you that this outlier is the norm.
Absolutely.
Like, this is the norm. This is the median. This is the reality for everybody. Like, no, bro, that's an outlier, bro.
Right.
You're just overemphasizing it and putting more attention to it to give people the impression that, oh, that's what black people do.
And that's
that ain't what black people do.
That's
not what black people do. But you wouldn't know that if you don't know how to look at things, think mathematically,
yeah,
and even more specifically, understand statistical analysis.
Yeah. By the way, brother Professor Professor Parker has another show that we did some time ago about statistics and breaking it down around election time. So make sure you go and check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
But let me do this. You know, I know you all that math.
Oh, this math.
You all this math.
Yeah.
I'm about to say you all about math.
Oh, yeah,
and I know it's gonna come out. But again, so I want to like kind of take a turn.
Okay.
So it's 100 years after Woodson, divide and conquer tactics in public schooling. Professor Parker, tell us, why is that? Like, tell us about that a bit. Like, what are you talking about when you speak about this divide and conquer tactics in public schooling? And I like to extend it to just schooling in general.
Yeah, we definitely could. We definitely could take it to schooling in general. Private schools, they can be included in the conversation. Public charter schools can be included in the conversation. But just a thought that I've had, just, in terms of reflecting on my own educational experience, growing up in Baltimore, and that kind of came as a result of, studying different things, reading different things, studying neo-colonialism, studying colonialism, studying anti-colonial strugglers on the continent, like Osagyefo, Kwame Nkrumah, who was from the Gold Coast, which is now Ghana, studied at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, then went back to the continent to become the first prime minister of an independent Ghana, studying, Sekou Touré in Guinea, who, when there was a coup in Ghana, told Nkrumah, like, bro, come over here. We could be co-presidents because we're trying to push Pan-Africanism anyway. We got the same goals. Nyeri over on the east side of Africa in Tanzania, just studying them and thinking about, while being a classroom teacher, also reflecting on my own educational experience and thinking about how formal education in schooling is used as a tool of neo-colonialism. what is it that one of the many things Malcolm said, you know, all goodbyes don't mean I'm going. So when a formerly colonized country becomes quote unquote independent, that some people will call that flag independence, you know, meaning the European nations still control the economics. But, you know, they may, like, I mean, think about Congo, right? So in Congo, 1961, they murder and assassinate with the support of the Belgian government, United States government, murder and assassinate Patrice Lumumba, the rightful leader of the country. Then Mobutu takes over. Then he, you know, changes the name to Zaire to make it kind of appear as though, well, you know, we down for the people. But really, the whole time, Mobutu was a puppet for Western nations, you know, raping the country, getting a bag, getting money, getting to the money, right? A neo-colonial puppet. We got a lot of neo-colonial puppets. We've had a lot of neo-colonial puppets. We have neo-colonial puppets right now as part of neo-colonialism. Those people have to be trained somewhere in a certain way. And oftentimes, the so-called elite institutions, educational institutions, can be a training ground. And I think back on my own experience, because I went to, as people would say, the good schools in Baltimore. I went to Roland Park and then went to Poly, you know. As children, being naive, lacking political education, political awareness, you know, like, and you went to Northern, right? And
I went to Roland Park.
Northern.
You said
so even in Roland Park. So there's like
the divergence.
It's like the movie Class Act. The movie Class Act, where they had like the clean part of the school for the so-called scholars, and then everybody else was in, you know, the other part of the school. Yeah. I think if Roland Park could have did that, they would have. They would have did that if they could have, right? Because I was in advanced academic in Roland Park. I was in the top ranked class like all 3 years, 6th through 8th. So I'm thinking I'm hot shit. I think I'm hot shit.
You wasn't going in the same cafeteria.
Well, I went in the same cafeteria. Like I said, if it was like the movie Class Act, then, they would have had it like that. But then that mindset, it's like a poisonous mindset, because then I get to a poly and I'm like, anybody go to a neighborhood school, y'all not on my level.
Y'all ain't on my level. So you was in 6'10", 7'10", and 8'10".
Yep. Those are my homerooms. And there was the pipeline, right? I don't want to take away anything from the academic rigor. The academic rigor was very important, very helpful. It's helped me to this day. A lot of the conversations I have today are due to my, you know, my educational foundations, you know, at institutions like that and like Poly. Kwame Ture said the same thing about, you know, attending Bronx High School of Science in the Bronx growing up, which is like a comparable to like a Poly in New York City. But there's still that cultural piece, that cultural violence, that kind of ideology that you're imbued with, that, you know, even with mathematics. One mistake a lot of people that excel in mathematics makes is this: Black people, right? It gives you this passport toward like honorary whiteness, because you believe that the way mathematics is taught traditionally is that, this is like white folks came up with this. We don't talk about Imhotep back in ancient Kemet. We're not getting into all that. Hypatia, or you do learn about Hypatia. They tell you Hypatia was a white woman. Yeah. You don't learn about Heron's formula, right? You might need that formula if you're trying to find the area of a triangle, if you don't know the, you know, certain dimensions and whatnot. But I believe Heron was a Black man too in Kemet. They don't teach you all that. You get the standard, you know, the westernized, the Eurocentric. You get education through the Eurocentric lens, right? So it affects you. So, and also that coupled with this idea that like math is not for everybody, math is too difficult. There's often no emphasis or effort to say, okay, cool, you learn the math, bring it back to the community, right? We're sending you there to go learn it. Now bring it back to us. The idea is you go learn it and don't never look back, because you're not with them no more. Yeah, right. That's neo-colonialism. So that's that. The goal is to create that like buffer class. Like one of the ways in which a very profound way that Amos Wilson termed it was that in these educational systems, we're being trained to be the Black face of white power. and I reflect on my own education,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, wow, yeah, I think that is what we were being trained for. We don't have to buy into it.
Who's that again? Who's been trained?
Black people, black youth.
Black youth. Okay.
I don't even think it's limited to us, but I'm focused on us right now. But then that's why, like, okay, so then, like, when I would have assumed that because of my own ignorance in my youth, okay, if you went to Northern and I didn't know anything about you, I just know you went to Northern. Like, that brother probably ain't that smart.
Yeah,
he went to the neighborhood school.
That was,
and especially so it's double for me because that was my neighborhood school. So I'm led to feel like, well, I went to Poly. I didn't have to go to the neighborhood school.
Yeah,
and I think also for a lot of us, they might have went to the magnet high schools, the special admission high schools. The threat of us having to go to the neighborhood school and live with the shame of attending the neighborhood school is almost used as a like a motivating force. You know, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, parents, telling them like, keep messing around, you're gonna end up at Northern. Keep messing around, you end up at Doug. Keep messing around, you're gonna end up at Southern or wherever, right?
Yeah.
But it's problematic. And I remember one day thinking about this a few years back. Like when I was at Poly, you know, I grew up listening to the rappers and listening to a lot of rap music, and I like fancy cars. They always rap about cars, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll go to an engineering high school, science and engineering. I'm like, okay, let me take the engineering track and maybe I'll go into mechanical engineering. Why? Because I can learn how to design cars. Yeah. Go work for, here's the first problem. I'm only thinking about going to work for one of the already established companies, Nissan, Ford, you know. I'm not thinking about us creating our own car company. Right? Yeah. We also are given this idea that people that attend the vocational schools were inferior to us too. So while I'm at Poly taking the calculus and all the high level math, I have this like kind of like inherent, this like arrogance about me. Like, you know, people at the vocational schools, they not on my level neither. Right. Yeah. And a lot of us felt this way. Some of us still feel this way to this day as grown 40, 50-year-old men, right? And women. But I'm not thinking like, yo, when y'all are in Mervo, y'all are in Carver, y'all got auto shop. Y'all on an auto mechanics track. Y'all are really working on cars. We're learning the theory of Poly. If I'd have had a different political mindset, a different cultural mindset, I'd have been like, nah, instead of looking down on them, recognize that they have actually access to information and knowledge and experience that you need, because what we need to be doing is thinking about building our own car companies. Yeah. So we should be thinking of how can we connect, but that divide is there. So as long as that divide is there, we're not going to be thinking about, well, how can I connect with some brothers over at Mervo that know how to, you know, change a transmission? Because if they could change a transmission, I mean, Dr. Clark talked about this. How did the Japanese become so great at building automobiles? I
have a question for you.
They took cars apart and analyzed it, and then they said, okay, well, we can improve this right here.
But you're leaving the component out. So you went from the polys to more like the Northern, then you went to more like a vocational school. But you also have like schools like City, which is in its own way set up to be college prep, but differently situated than a Poly.
Oh, and it's always war between Poly and City. Yeah. You know, nowadays it's all good fun, but back then it wasn't fun. It was real, right? But even that's divide and conquer, because you know, so you have this allegedly, right? Or at least let's say probably the largest concentration of, I'm not going to say intelligent, that's not the appropriate word, probably the most well-prepared students, largest concentration of well-prepared students in the city of Baltimore concentrated in these two schools, right? And we're very busy being at war with each other instead of thinking like, yo, how can we? And again, I also will allow for the fact that we was teenagers.
But but my point is though that the Poly, like you saying, is this more this engineering science-based school. That is not the same thing that City is known for.
More for liberal arts.
Yeah. So that to me that's that debate there as well.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if y'all did it on that level when you were in high school, but in the collegiate level, that's definitely a debate, a strong debate.
Like how we could have connected, because that skill set is needed along with
what I'm saying is liberal arts is seen as less than from those who do math, and then those who do math, so, it comes from all sides.
Yeah.
So, but math, honestly, I would argue again. To me, I think we fight the white matriarchy and the white patriarchy arguments all day, because math is more the white patriarchy, and then the liberal arts is more the white matriarchy.
Yeah, and I mean, it reminds me of that argument that reading person versus math person argument.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like,
Scott,
nah, we need both of those
today.
It's both
and back then it was all white patriarchy. Way back, yeah. You need both.
You gotta have both. You gotta have both, because once you do the experiments. And you do that mathematical analysis, you need to know how to write it up. We got to know how to write it up, and we also got to know how to read critically. We got to know how to read critically so we can understand word problems on a very basic level from an early age.
It's a false dichotomy, but it's also a dichotomy that really creates a certain way of looking at the world, viewing the world, and experiencing the world, and it has people qualifying what they believe is of value and what is not of a value. In fact, I teach students, and those who come from more, let's say people who are more left brain, if we can use that in 2026, versus those who are more right brain. Let me just say, those who are more logical, those who like cognitive strengths, and those who have more emotional strength, there's a war there. And I always try to merge the two and say we need both.
We do.
And in fact, you're retarded without if you two have your, I'm sorry to say it like that.
It's 2026, brother.
You just kind of retarded if you don't understand that. But what I mean, not if you don't understand that, but if you don't use both, you're going to be lopsided.
Yeah.
So people who are, what I find out, even in the sciences or different fields, like there's a lot of people who who are engineers and things like that, but they don't really understand statistics in the same way that someone from over social science will understand it. Yeah. So when they try to look at the world and human beings, they look at it from these very rigid perspectives and frameworks.
Yeah.
You about to say something?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
And so what happens is, but these rigid frameworks that show greater levels of probability or higher, what's the word? Probability. So if it's, there's less error. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for a statistical word, by the way.
Margin of error?
No, not margin of error. But nonetheless, let's just say it's been a while. But let's say it's like it's like 2.5 and 5. Okay. Nonetheless, don't let me just go there. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is when you are working in what they call the hard sciences, there's less it's more easy to measure.
Okay.
When you're dealing with human beings, it's not as easy to measure.
That's back to the point.
Yeah.
Talking about intersectionality.
The
question I'm posing is like, how do you quantify that?
Yeah.
I know I do believe that everything can be quantified. The question is, how do we go about doing it where the way in which we quantify it is reliable and is actually beneficial and accurate. But then even accuracy is based on a standard. But then where do we get the standard from? Not to say that we can't, but these are the questions that have to be asked. These are the things that have to be taken into consideration. You believe you ain't gonna just skate over that. Yeah, I believe everything can be quantified.
you believe everything can be quantified?
Yeah, I don't know how to quantify everything, but I have a belief that
you believe anything that's real is quantifiable.
Yeah,
I mean that. Yeah. See, the thing is that becomes like what that's a white man's argument. I'm being a little facetious with you right now.
I've heard that, but I think I've heard that position, but then that takes me back to George G.M. James. George G.M. James's claim was that in the European mindset, that's why with the Enlightenment, it's like it's almost like they made you pick a side. It's like you're either going to be with God or you're going to be one of the scientists, right? But George G.M. James' argument, from what I remember in Stolen Legacy, was that our African ancestors were about not the divergence between knowledge and spirituality, but the convergence, and using, like, believing in spirituality, but using the mathematics to explain, okay, this is how this works. Like this is what it is. But we're going to use higher level calculus. We're going to use the linear algebra. We're going to use all this to explain what God is out here doing. You know, so that also is why I believe that, like, everything can be quantified. Now, I may not know how to do it, a lot of it, but I do believe there's a formula for everything. Yeah, and everything can be quantified.
And so it is probability I was looking for, but is the alpha level was the more specific term I'm talking about. So in hard sciences, you can have more consistent higher alpha levels, and in social sciences, is not as high. But what I'm saying is, though, like, hold up. We're gonna have a debate here. My man said he believes that everything can be quantified.
Everything be quantified, yeah.
All right, Poly versus Northern. We gonna do it in real life, y'all. So everything. Hold up. So, I mean, no.
You don't think so?
That's impossible.
You think it's impossible?
Everything. Okay, let me make sure I'm following you correctly.
Okay.
So everything that is
any phenomena, any phenomena, any proclivity that a person might have, or
so, like Dr. Ozebo, what his name was, he was talking about he had the quantum theory and he was measuring God, and he proved that God was a real thing and all that type of thing.
I mean, I think that could be valid. I mean, I haven't done that work myself, but I think that there's potential to do those types of things. You know,
that's a good myth. That's a good belief system.
I mean, what and but perhaps again, back to George G.M. James, that kind of that made it make sense for me, like this convergence. Not that, but again, not that.
I think he said something different.
One is superior to other. That's how I read it.
I'm thinking, I haven't read, or I don't remember that, right?
Yeah.
But I think that I have a similar idea about that. I think that one, we can measure things, not measure everything, but there are things that we can't measure because the fact that, so we can measure things. I'm saying we can even measure levels. What would they call it? Non-tangible things.
Okay.
To a degree, but it's.
Well, give me an example of a non-tangible thing. To make sure we're on the same page.
Like I said, love.
Love. Okay.
Okay. Depression.
Okay.
Anxiety.
Okay.
Things we can't hold.
Okay, right, okay.
You know, social constructs, psychological constructs, all these things. We can measure these to a degree, which takes a lot of analysis. Again, I said there's a whole, like, but they're not perfect like they would be if you were doing something more biology, or not, even biology is not even perfect, but more like if you're measuring this stick out here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think no.
So what I'm saying,
I'm clear about what you mean by non-tangible.
So what I'm saying is, there's things I know we will never be able to measure.
I have faith that it can be done.
Help me.
It might not. See,
that means you will be able to measure everything that we know or don't know.
Well, if we don't know it.
Well, you say everything.
Well, when I say everything, I'm thinking of things that we can identify.
Oh, okay.
Things that we can identify. Things that are identifiable.
So it's kind of like saying, like, okay, I don't look. Okay, well, that is it. Okay, I'll take your interesting perspective. That's a mighty job. Let me just say that.
Yeah, and I think I think some things will be very difficult.
We're still trying to map the brain out.
And I think that one day it'll happen. One day it'll happen.
Oh boy.
One day it'll happen.
Okay, I have faith. The faith. You gotta have faith.
One day it's gonna happen.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm gonna leave. Look, keep going, Bob. Keep going. So let's talk about so when you look at this divisiveness, though, let me just throw something on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
As one of my mentors say, that I hear the side that you're coming from. I have like homeboys who live in the county, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in their mind, they believe they have a superior perspective, or like they know they're a little bougie.
Okay.
And that they look down, they know whether or not they will articulate it, that they believe that they have some quality that the brothers and sisters in the hood or the community or the city don't have.
Mm.
Now, the reality is I often remind them, those people in the city think you some shit.
Mm.
So in some instances, they that same view, they look at you like you're not all of that. In fact, I think I'm better than you. So as one of my mentors says, that everybody wants to be accepted.
But it's back to, how do we quantify that? How do we even quantify that? Like, when somebody thinks somebody's not all that compared to what standard?
Well, we can measure that.
Yeah.
We can measure that.
Yeah.
Because we have to do some surveys, and then we do some analysis and come up with a large sample size and kind of pull it together and see this is so. But it's not a perfect. There's error there, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can quantify those things. But about God, I don't know about all that. Well, I mean, because some of these things we believe, I don't even know if they're true. So let me just start there. So if you believe things that are like, we believe in lots of things. I don't know, we believe certain things are true. But nonetheless, what I want to say is this. Let's deal with a northern, for example, and let's deal with a poly.
Okay.
And my mentor is saying everybody wants to be accepted for something.
Okay.
So he says that if I can't good grades, I'm gonna be a bad boy.
Happens often.
Because that will give me some approval.
Right.
I will have belonged to something.
Right.
So in essence, when you go to a school like Northern, you're the toughest shit in ever. And those clowns over there at Poly, so it's a whole nother side of the story.
Yeah.
These some clowns.
Right.
I mean, not to say that they don't appreciate you or like, look, young brother, go get your math, go to school, do your thing. But that I want to show the both sides of the division here.
Yeah, because the question is, what metrics are being used, and like,
absolutely,
what is the standard?
Right.
Because somebody that goes to a Poly, we might look down on people in Northern, but then somebody in Northern might be like, we'll come over there and beat all y'all the F up.
Yeah, we will. That's what they will say. I'm not saying I'm saying that's what they will say, right?
So the question is, on any given Sunday, the question is like, okay, what matters more? That's another thing to take into consideration.
It was so funny because I went to Northern, right? And the sister that I was talking to one time, she told me, "Yeah, she was like, you're smart.
Like, why are you here?"
Like she went to Western.
Okay.
Well, she was affirming me that I was smart. No, you're really like, and she was telling me I was smart because I went to Northern.
Okay.
But she didn't say, because I don't know, maybe I said something. Maybe it was about Northern, but she was like, no, but you're smart. So it had something to do with that. The way I went to school at. Yeah. Not her saying that I was smart just to make me feel good. She was saying I was smart and I still went to Northern.
She was confused.
I think she was affirming or something.
Okay.
I forgot how the content.
Well, I know people again like that went to Poly and then got kicked out. And Northern was their own school, and that's where they ended up going. So yeah, that was I mean, a lot of us, people that got kicked out, they went to wherever based upon their neighborhood.
It's very interesting. One of my principals, I hope she does. Well, I don't know, maybe she doesn't care, but she went to, where did she go, to Western or Poly? She went to Western, I think. But her father was a principal at Northern, very popular principal or vice principal at that time. Okay, I won't even say his name. I don't want to put her stuff out there, but so she had the love on both environments, and so anyway, that the divide and conquer will have each side looking at each other as something less than,
which strengthens the divide. it keeps us from finding our similarities and our commonalities. And oftentimes, we may never be the same, but the question that we should ask also, and this is for young people to consider, are we more different than we are alike? Can we do the analysis to consider, are we more different than we are alike, or are we more alike than we are different? And also, what's the goal? Because for a lot of us, and again, it goes back to I guess a white domination framework. Whereas in a white domination framework, this expectation is that the land, the resources, and the opportunities are controlled by this particular community. And in order for you to get access to some of those opportunities, some land and some resources, you have to be accepted by them. And oftentimes the thought is never, well, how do we create a framework where we control and make the decisions? Like that divide and conquer thing is about us fighting over crumbs. We fighting over crumbs. I go to Poly because I think that'll get me more access, or a better opportunity of access to the crumbs that are left for the Black community.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that I'll get, because I know how to do more math, and I, have this school, on my transcript and on my, I get this diploma, I'll have access to more crumbs. But then we never stop to think like, well, what if we, organized and united, we could get the whole loaf because it belongs to us anyway. That's Kwame Ture, by the way. That's not original. He said that back in the 60s. But it was relevant in the 60s. It's still relevant now. We keep dividing ourselves and keep fighting. And that's what those that are in control and in power in the neo-colonial system, they want us to do. They want us to be fighting, want us to be thinking, well,
on so many levels,
focusing on me being better. And even like, I think also like, this also comes to mind. Got a lot of random thoughts, but Sam Greenlee, author of The Spook That Sat by the Door, and also directed the movie Spook That Sat by the Door. In an interview, he said, there's a difference between being elite and being elitist. So we may have been elite by going to Poly because we had access to certain educational opportunities, certain coursework, certain rigor. But being elitist is when you say, well, just because I have access to this, I am superior to them over there. And also, when you have those elite experiences, then I believe, based on my ideology, that gives you an obligation to serve. So it's like, okay, well, we over here doing calculus. If they're not even offered calculus, then we got to figure out how to teach them. We should be teaching them calculus. And then back to my, scenario about, well, we should have been connecting with the brothers at Mervo and at Carver. So, okay, so we could get this car company popping because we know how to do the calculus and the engineering. We taking the engineering courses. They're actually building cars. They're dropping engines and dropping transmissions. Let me ask you a question.
How many of your colleagues are business people now, though?
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know an exact number, but yeah, there's a lot of them.
Would you say most?
Probably not most. When you say colleagues, you mean people I went to high school with?
Yeah,
high school with?
Yeah.
Probably not most. A lot of engineers, of course.
Engineers.
Some went the science route, went into medicine and healthcare fields.
Yeah.
Some in the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially I was in the business. I majored in finance at Morgan. I never wanted to be an educator.
Okay.
Originally, that's part of my backstory. I never wanted to be an educator.
Yeah.
I'm glad it happened, though. I'm glad it happened, but that was never the goal. I didn't see the value. I didn't see the value in trying to, provide education for the community.
No?
Nah.
What was your goal?
Rugged individualism. Get the money. Get the money. Live like
dollar bill, y'all.
Live like the drug dealers that I used to see
legally.
Live legally, but live like the drug dealers. They used to have the Accurate Legends back in the day, and the GS 300s and all that. Infinity Q45s and all that. Live like them without selling drugs. That was the goal. Just get to the money.
I had some similar aspirations. Hey, I had similar aspirations. I did have similar aspirations, but I was a hard worker.
I just want to go down Hammerjacks. Go down Hammerjacks with a nice luxury car.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking about.
Then I didn't want it. Yeah. I had similar aspirations, but I think what you're saying though is pivotal, and it's been a debate in the community. But I don't. Okay, let me say. So this idea of being trained to really leave your community, like
Yeah,
I've always had a problem with this idea. You made it out,
yeah.
or giving back.
Asada Shakur.
Yeah. Oh.
One of the things Asada Shakur said in Asada, and this was very important for me at that stage in my life. I always wanted to teach upward bound programs.
Dang, look, the chat they doing their own thing up in there. Chat, come on, talk to us. Come on now, y'all. Look, and come on and talk to us, because I want to open the line up, but y'all talking about everything else. But go ahead.
So I always wanted to teach in an upward bound program, and I was able to do that. So I'm teaching in the program. But one of the, Asada Shakur said in her autobiography, Asada, which I recommend to everybody if you haven't read it yet. If you already read it, read it again. The goal of upward bound programs is what it sounds like, to get you up, and you're upward bound away from your community. Right now, that may be the goal, I think, of the government. That doesn't have to be your goal as an individual, and I think that's something that has to be clear. Like, I'm all for education. Go to the spaces where you get the best opportunity for academic training, but you have to make a decision. I think one of the most critical decisions we make is, it's like, smart for what? Like, what do I do with that education? Do I use it as a passport away, or do I use it to build community? Like, that's a very, and oftentimes that's a very difficult decision. That's a very difficult decision.
I get that. I appreciate that.
Some people had negative experiences in their community. So some people are like, and I didn't grow up in the hood, so I had a more like up working class, lower middle class experience. So, for me, I don't want to say it was easier for me to become more committed to community, but I didn't feel, well, I think I wanted to, I think I had the value system of wanting to build community and help my people was instilled in me at a very early age by my parents, and being in Pan-African spaces, which are fundamentally communal. It's about the community first. We still are individuals, but it's not the rugged individualism. Like, I went that route when I got a little older, and I'm like, overwhelmed by a lot of, mainstream media, commercial rap music, heavy on the commercial. That's important, right? That became the goal. That became, it was a very strong influence.
Yeah.
I
had a similar upbringing, but in fact, we talked about it, but I've always kind of like, I've never had this rugged individualism though. And I never got so far into the music where I tried to at least pop some Nas in, or something that was somewhat centered. You know what I mean? I was listening to DMX one day and I said, oh my God, I got to turn this off. He's going to make me lose my mind. I like DMX, but I was like, he started getting them those little, when he go into the Bible verses and all, I'm like, this is like, oh, this is rough. I mean, it probably wasn't that rough, but it just seemed rough. So I had to like, look, all right, let me put you aside there, brother. You're a little extra. But I do get what you're saying. And I think what you're saying is that it's essential that those that we're bringing up, and in particular fields even, that we don't, directly or indirectly, we are conditioning our youth to see themselves in a more superior sense, and disconnect. It ultimately leads to them being disconnected. Their aspirations are to disconnect from their community. And even if they think they are connected, I will argue there's still a certain level of education, or a certain type of education, that has them working against the community's the community's well-being, although they believe that they are doing so.
And oftentimes, getting away from the community is equated to Black excellence.
And
a lot of people accept that definition of Black excellence. That means, well, it's almost like you gotta graduate from your Blackness.
And I think though, like, it's really essential to note that this is just across the board. It just happens to be like, what I'm hearing is, if you went to school and your math scores was high and you went to college, you became an engineer or a physician or some type of advanced degree, you have a higher probability of doing some things or what have you in certain ways. But then again, what I've noticed in my own experience just being in Baltimore, everybody's an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And when I say everybody, I mean I'm just generalizing here, but especially those in my peer group,
Yeah.
they all got businesses. You know what I mean? I'm talking about those I went to school with. They have businesses, so they have access to money.
Yeah.
And they have access to move out of those communities, and they have access to smoke cigars and pop bubbly. I don't know if they call it that no more, but they have access to funds, and a lot of women got education as well. But they, especially the sisters and the brothers, are doing more, let's say, Mervo type of stuff. But they didn't go to trade school when they were younger. But they have construction companies which are bringing in monies for them,
right?
And they ain't trying to be, they might even visit the community some, but they ain't trying to do that. They a lot of them lack any political education, and I like to say that on all levels, like lack of political education to even be worried about changing those conditions.
And I think a lot of that has to do with a lack of exposure to certain exemplars, which is, so back to the hystematics framework.
Mm-hmm.
One of the essential components of hystematics is like, okay, so while you're learning algebra 2 content, while you're learning geometry, pre-calculus, calculus, right? Because we have a lot of, I think you mentioned this earlier, like there are a lot of black people black youth that are brilliant, that are being molded and groomed to become physicists and doctors and engineers. However, what is being kept from them is, as you say, the political education and cultural education, and the awareness of historical figures that were radical and anti-colonial. So it's like, while you're learning the math in hystematics says, while you're learning the mathematics, which you should, let's also learn about Maurice Bishop. Examples like that, Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. I mentioned Lumumba earlier. Learn about him. Learn about Assata Shakur, who I mentioned. Because then at least there's no guarantee that you're going to have a more, radical political outlook, but at least you have the option, because you're like, okay, you mean this person did this, so maybe I should perhaps follow this pathway instead of the Jay-Z pathway, or the, just 50 Cent get rich or die trying.
I mean, they're not following they're going to become an engineer. I mean, what do you mean?
But even
you mean that, the political pathway?
Yeah.
So okay, I got you. Like, all right, I'm gonna go become an engineer, but I'm gonna look like Jay-Z.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. Well, what I mean in terms of like not having the political orientation.
Yeah,
it's a very like, again, neo-colonialist. But another word, and I think this has to become part of our everyday vocabulary. Neo-colonialism and also Negro assimilationism. That term too has become part of the vocabulary.
Negro assimilationism.
Yeah. As opposed to even integration, because a lot of times I think what's happening is assimilationism, or the goal is assimilationism, while it may be represented as integrationism. But I don't think individuals can integrate. I think you have to integrate as a group. That's my thinking. I think assimilationism is more, I'm an individual and I just want to get down with whoever's going to accept me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to subscribe to their standards.
Well, yeah.
That'll be assimilation. There's no power involved in assimilationism. You're essentially at the whim of whoever it does have the power.
Yeah. And some of my research is that assimilationist is one who takes on the generic American identity. Why are we black? Well, black is not that essential. I'm not race first for sure. Definitely, I don't even know why race is essential. I'm an American. So that's how that construct actually has, that political construct can be measured. Since we're talking about things to be measured.
Be qualified,
Yeah. So I get that. So what do you think? What's the goal though? What's the goal? Like, what's the goal with this political education alongside with this just general education, mathematical education, scientifically based education, this STEAM education?
Mm-hmm.
What's the goal?
That we reach a critical mass, right? Because we don't need all 40 million black people in the United States, right?
Mhm.
We don't need that's one misconception.
Can I just jump in there real quick?
Yeah.
Because I just want to kind of channel my sisters because it's given talented 10th.
Well, so I'm a fan of that.
So it's given talented 10th.
I'm a fan of that. I think I don't actually think Du Bois was wrong in claiming that we should have a talented 10th. I think he realized that the people that were supposed to be the talented 10th did not fulfill that responsibility. And I think that it's supposed to be about service. I mean, in any group, you're gonna have again the difference between elite and elitist. Right? You need your elite people that have the skills, and it doesn't just mean the people that went to the polys, the cities, and the westerns. If you have a skill, then you're elite because of that skill, and we should look at it like that. That should be the definition. Like, what is that skill that the community needs? And if you're good at that skill,
what does elite mean to you? Because I'm struggling with the terminology.
You're able to perform something at a highest level.
Okay,
you know. Like you do something in an elite way.
So you have some gifts.
Yeah, or you develop some skills. You develop. When I hear gift, it kind of makes it feels like you may not have worked for it.
It's kind of African.
It was just within you already.
So when you hear gifts, you think it's something in you. It was something in you.
The capacity and the potential
is in you. You can't bring out nothing that's not there.
You don't think it was potential though? You think, but with something that had to be developed though. You know what I mean?
It was there. You brought it out.
Right. So to bring it out part.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking,
some people can't bring out what they don't have.
When I hear gift, I think that you had to bring it out because you already like in its highest form. You already
Allen Iverson versus Kobe Bryant.
I think they both had to work though.
They say Allen Iverson didn't had to practice as much.
I mean, I think he played a lot of basketball all throughout his life. I think that was his practice though, to develop those skills.
Okay, but you could say he was a little bit more naturally gifted.
That's possible.
I mean, I'm trying to
that's
trying to kind of help you out here.
that's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Some people don't have to try as hard as others.
There's that. Yeah.
So I think also when we look at this, I think though one of the issues that I think can come up though if we're not careful is that people have all types of skills. And there's so that we don't utilize the same model or the same models that's been laid down is that these people become the talented 10th, right? You kind of was clear that's not what you're doing, but I just want to, but there's all types of skills. I'm talking about even academic that are that require certain levels of intelligence or differently intelligent that these people can do and these people can't do, or they struggle more at doing this thing than this thing.
They would require more work at it.
Yeah, to do this thing, to do this thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's when you look at the I forgot what the person's calling, but they talk about the multiple intelligences.
Okay. Yeah.
You've heard of that?
Yeah, that's not Bloom's taxonomy. The other guy.
Yeah, I don't know his name. I don't remember white people's names that well. I'm just being honest with you. I mean, even though I might agree with it,
I usually am pretty good at remembering white people's names sometimes when they have those.
I mean, I remember like Freud and Young and Adler and Skinner and all these people. I had to remember them, but
a lot of them I remember because our African Center scholars critiqued them.
Yeah, I still don't remember. Howard Gardner is his name.
Gardner, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was I saying before that? When I went, you mentioned talented 10th before we went there. Because you asked the definition of. Oh,
well, you're giving talented 10th.
Oh, the goal. What's the goal of it?
Yeah, what's the goal? Yeah,
what's the goal? Yeah, to reach a critical mass of people that will push us to try to create a different type of society. You know,
push the goal to do what again?
To create a different type of society, a society that's much more humane.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what's the issue? What's the struggle?
The struggle is that, well, let me see. There's several issues. One issue is there's a select group of individuals that are making most of the decisions that affect everyone's lives. You know, our life is our communities are not democratic enough. And when I say democratic, I'm not talking about like the Democratic Party per se. I'm talking about just in terms of how decisions are made about the allocation of economic decisions, the allocation of resources, how we'll be educated, what we'll study, what we'll be able to have access to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what will we do with the Earth's natural resources?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those types of things. Should we have AI data centers popping up everywhere that's going to be using a lot of water?
Yeah.
You know, those types of decisions are not made by the masses. They're made by a select few individuals that possess
and they're putting them
money.
In whose communities?
Ours.
Yeah.
Or the places we live.
Or the places we live.
You know, they're not our community. We don't own the communities, but yeah. So the hope is that, and a lot of it is just like so many of us just lack an awareness of some of these things that are going on. And I think education becomes key, because then.
Let me ask you a question. I just want to ask you, why do you say we don't own the community?
And because even the hood, like when I think of the hood, like it's, you know, who owns the real estate? You know, most of the real estate. Of course, you can make the argument that land is for everybody. Land is not meant to be owned, right? But if we live in a capitalist system where there is real estate,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people do own properties, people do own land. You know, even in the communities where most of us live, we don't necessarily own the communities. There's an outside entity that may own, you know, hold the deeds on the houses, you know, the mortgages, the banks, these commercial banks and what have you. Also like the life-sustaining institutions, the schools, the who provides the utilities. You know, the electric company in Baltimore, BG&E. We don't own BG&E or the water company. And from city to city, you know, it's similar. So we're living here, we're living in these places, but we don't control them, which is becomes part of the problem, because then these companies make decisions that affect us, and then we don't really have, based on the rules and the protocols that are in place, we don't have as much of a say so. Or we'll find out about things at the last minute when the decision has already been made. And I think a lot of times the companies and the government entities may attempt to placate us and say, look, we're going to have this meeting. You come out, voice your concerns. Meanwhile, the decision has already been made.
And the reason why I asked that question, I don't want to get us off track too far, but the reason why I asked it, because one of my students did a paper on a data center in PG County. And I think maybe another did one like in Southern Maryland, where we own a lot of those, the houses at least in those communities. And I just wanted to hear clearly what you meant by that. Because we do own the homes in these communities, and they still open up data centers in these very spaces as well. But again, that goes to your argument about the other institutions as well. But yeah, moving forward, though, there's talented. What were we talking about? The talented 10th? Because you drop a lot of things, so it's kind of
Well, just reaching a critical mass of people in the community. Because once you, and again, the reason the critical mass is important is because then once there's critical mass, and things tend to blow up. You know, things expand much faster, right? But I don't want people
critical mass. How does that happen?
To feel overwhelmed.
How's that happen though? The critical mass. What does that look like?
Little by little.
What is the critical? What would that look like though? The critical
number.
What is reaching the critical mass? What is reaching the critical mass?
The critical mass is the amount of people that would need to develop a certain sense of awareness or consciousness. Yeah. Where once you reach that amount, then it's almost like you're in cruise control now.
So the consciousness is what you're.
So it's got to be built up though, like through more difficult.
Is the consciousness consciousness also inclusive of the type of education, the mathematics, and all the things you're talking about?
Yeah, all these things. And I think again with the mathematics, I think a lot of times the mathematical thinking ability influences your ability to understand the political education.
What are they going to do with it though? I mean, and that shows.
Well, I think it's going to govern the the way they approach the world. It's going to govern just their lives
on the individual level,
individual and collective. Yeah, I think individual and collective.
Okay,
because I think what happens too, like when you mentioned political education, a lot of people don't necessarily like. You may hear a message, but it may not make sense to you because a lot of the concepts in political education, a lot of the concepts in radical, political approaches. To me, they make sense to me, and they make sense because they're mathematical. Now, I don't think you need to be a mathematician to understand them, but I think understanding the math helps you to be able to see it. But again, there's that critical thinking piece. So with the critical thinking, doing math, taking math courses, studying math, you're essentially practicing critical thinking. So then when you have that practice of critical thinking, that's normal and regular to you. Then when you just receive information or you're exposed to information, you almost have this filter. Like your brain becomes a filter for certain things, and then you're able to, you hear the politician say this thing, you hear the corporation say this thing, you hear the commercial rapper who is essentially an advertising, an endorser of a lot of the plans that are anti-human, that are going to benefit the political entity or the government entity and the corporation. You receive it differently because instead of you thinking, well, okay, that's what's up, that's all good, you think, well, I can see how that might be cool, but what about this? What about that? What about this? Whereas oftentimes we just accept whatever we hear because the filter isn't present. We don't have that filter because of a lack of critical thinking ability.
So, I mean, I'm not okay. So what's the percentage of people that will satisfy you as qualifying as the critical mass as pertains to this level of consciousness that you're speaking to?
So that I haven't figured out yet. Yeah, I haven't figured out yet.
I mean, this show's supposed to have been over, but I really would like to sit here and we have to have some other conversations because I'm really interested in. I like people who think, honestly, right? So it's very difficult for me not to try to pick your brain.
I appreciate
and
that.
Challenge your shit.
Yeah.
You say you appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've been getting in trouble with my students because look. So I'm a digress just for a second, and I like back and forth, right? I like a back and forth dialogue, right?
Yeah. It's helpful.
And I like deep stuff, right? So the thing is, and what I mean by deep, I mean just it ain't gotta be that deep, but it's just I'm not the surface guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
There's always more to consider.
Yeah, there's always more to consider, right? Yeah. So and so I kind of want to know what that looks like. And I also want to challenge you a bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure. And I don't know if I have the answer to this or whether I'm accurate with this, but I'm not sure how do I say this? Because part of me is saying I'm not sure whether or not, because it's almost like I'm wondering if your goal, I'm going to challenge you a bit to say you have to have that goal. You have to have that number.
Okay.
You have to have that percentage. And if you don't have it, then I'm not satisfied with you not having it. And I'm not satisfied because then I'm not satisfied because then how do you know that we've been successful in what your goal is?
Okay. So that sounds valid. But I think that right now it's moving in a certain direction. Like I don't know I know what the end goal is. The end goal is a society that is much more humane, where people get to embrace their full humanity, right? That's the end goal.
He didn't,
But I think in order to
he
get to
threw all
that,
the numbers away now. I'm messing with you.
but I think in order to get to that,
we
need a.
I like that though.
But I don't want. But see, the reason I bring up critical mass is because I don't want people to think that we should only focus on the end goal, because the end goal may seem unattainable, and also we may not see the end goal in our own life.
I have another challenge. That's the thing, though.
But once you hit critical mass, with anything, that's when it starts to flourish and pick up even faster.
Right, but your goal was. I appreciate the goal. The goal did clarify things for me.
Okay, the end goal.
Yeah, your goal did clarify for me. But I still want to know the percentage of people that you think needs to reach this level of consciousness that you're talking about. Because I'm not sure. This is my argument. My argument is I'm not sure if I'm following you correctly that I agree
that we need a critical mass.
I don't know if you're, and I might just be putting you in a box. I'm just going to be clear. I'm not sure if you're critical, the way that you see this, even mathematically, like how many people are going to do that and how they're going. I'm not sure if it's realistic.
Not sure if it's realistic.
Because the reason why I'm saying I'm not sure, let me put it like this. I'm not sure if you leave enough nuance mathematically for different type of thinkers.
Well, I think there's room.
Okay.
I think there's room for
but I want to hear it.
Because I think we need different types of
I want to hear it, though.
I think we do need we need a diversity of thought in order to reach the critical mass.
Right.
I don't think we'll reach the critical
mass. Because I think that
without that.
I think that we have to be very clear about that, though. And I think I would challenge you to include that in your math.
Okay.
I would like for example, I would challenge you to add some STEAM education with the A.
Yeah. Because
I think that, and I would argue that people, even from your own arguments, because I listen to you, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your mind, but I think that one of the things I've heard you say that people are already mathematically inclined and don't even know it.
Yeah, I believe that.
So to be logical doesn't require you to do equations.
To be logical doesn't require to do it.
I'm saying mathematical formulas that such and such, like to work equations, mathematical equations and things like that. There's many people who are not mathematicians,
right?
And probably forgot all the math they learned, but are very logical. But they could pick it up, as you argue, because the way that they think,
right?
Like I'm thinking about Du Bois even as we sit here and talk, right? Like
I see him as a mathematician.
Yeah,
on the work that he did.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I'm saying he may have not been a standard mathematician, but the way that his logic is undeniable.
Yeah. And even a lot of the scholars that I've studied, like
in philosophy, I'm saying philosophy and logic.
One of the reasons that, and this also has helped me to develop the hystematics framework, is because when I'm listening to this person or when I'm listening to that person, and I'm thinking about, I see parallels between what this person is saying about in terms of political science or human psychology.
Yeah.
I see parallels to this algebra 2 concept or this pre-calculus concept.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, this is an entry point. This is a way for us to present the mathematics and show our people, because if you can listen to this person and you believe that they made sense, he or she made sense, then the mathematics could make sense also.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I do agree with you that we should not be afraid of it, that we can do it. And in fact, more people can do it than those who currently believe they can.
And that's to my earlier point. Like, it's the reason that so many people believe that they can't do it individually. I'm convinced it's propaganda. It's just all the messaging that we've received our whole lives.
Yeah,
it's just messaging. We've received messaging that we can do certain things or that we're supposed to be able to do certain things. We've received messaging that we can't do certain things.
Right.
So what if but we never question the validity of the messaging. Like with mathematics, we just believe it to be true. And then it becomes like this confirmation bias. We have these types of situations where It's like, okay, I thought math was going to be difficult for me, and now I'm in a math class, and this problem is hard. See, I told you I can't do it, but you fail to take into consideration you've never seen this concept before.
Yeah.
You've never studied this before.
Right.
It's always going to be difficult when you first start, and then you may make the mistake of trying to compare yourself to another to a classmate that has a background that you weren't aware of. Maybe they already took this class. Maybe they're like my children. Their father's a math teacher. Their father's a math professor. So you can't compare yourself to that person.
And I had it the other way around, actually. I know I could do math if I really tried it. Like it's not a difficult thing for me. I won math contests and all that, right? But I know that I never really like gave it all my effort. Like and I could figure it out enough to pass the class.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, but I thought I couldn't write.
Oh, okay.
I thought I couldn't write.
I had some teachers that made me feel that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know if I thought I couldn't read.
Yeah.
But I thought I could not write. But I realized in writing, as you said, they're connected, that writing helped free my mind. And it also gave voice to myself.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to articulate myself better. And it allowed me to open, and reading can't be disconnected from
flush out those ideas.
Yeah. Because I'm already like math is not the thing. Like I'm very logical. So I already know that literally I can look at it. I don't have to listen to the teacher and tone it out and go home and keep working on it, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
But I always thought I couldn't write. And I know this is just me that I'm speaking to, but there's this problem across the board where people feel like they can't read, write, and definitely not do math.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that issue is major.
It's a feeling. And I mean, it helps to maintain the status quo.
Absolutely.
Because then we are less equipped to be able to solve our problems.
So
because we don't learn problem solving.
So do you think this math and these other things maybe that I'm mentioning, do you think that these are going to bring about liberation?
I do.
How so?
Well, for one, because what the math will bring about is our ability to identify problems. So one of our problems is that we're not liberated, right? To provide an analysis of the problems which will lead to the liberation, right? Because what a lot of it is just an inability to, as I've said, to think more critically, an ability to think more critically. And I think once more of us, and now we're talking about that critical mass again, get to the point where we're thinking more critically about our problems and about our situation, then we may realize, enough of us may realize, like, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And also we may start to feel like we have the confidence that we can change things.
And I want to be clear that you're saying that it has to be parallel with political education.
Yeah, it can't just be, because the purpose of one of the major purposes of the mathematical aptitude is so that you can better understand the political analysis. What is it? And it may require, it's going to require some revolutionary activity. So the first step is to have the awareness to know, okay, this is what this is going to require. It's going to require revolutionary activity. But then how do you go about that? What does that look like? What are those specific tactics and strategies?
What about culture for you?
I think culture is important too.
Yeah.
Because with culture, in terms of like freedom, thinking about freedom, what comes to mind is like, you may feel like, in order for me, like, if you identify your culture, right, then you may say, well, you may realize and recognize that you're not able to fully embrace your culture in the current state of affairs. So then it becomes more of a motivational force to say, okay, yeah, we need to move in this different direction so that we can actually embrace our culture more freely.
Yeah, because I think you bring up great points, right? Like holistically, and it has me thinking though, like, who has the most influence in our communities many times, and I guess you can measure that, or we can find out who has the most influence. But we know we're in a place where there's celebrity culture.
Yeah, yeah.
and they have different tiers of celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing you do the math every time I talk, but so there's these different tiers of celebrity, but nonetheless, influencers, people like that,
Mm-hmm.
mathematicians and scientists and physicians and psychologists and school teachers and math teachers and chemistry teachers and all these people
Not as influential.
are not. Although I saw like this rap thing where Lupe Fiasco and what's the guy named down in South, the guy who talks a lot. But what's the guy name?
So many of them.
Dr. Ball always gets on him.
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike, yeah. So Killer Mike and I think it was Lupe Fiasco and said they challenged the school teacher. I think it was a math teacher or a history teacher or something, and saying, "You think you got more influence than I?" And so they were challenging him, saying, "You with them every day, and you saying I got more influence."
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
that's not a good mathematical argument they're making, because it's not necessarily about time. It's about reach and exposure.
Absolutely. It's so when I think about that too, right? I think about these people and the malfeasance that they are practicing as singers, dancers, social media influencers without the education, because these people actually, the Charleston Whites of the world, the poets of the world, the dancers of those who really capture these audience. Like if you go on TikTok right now, this person will be a dancer and they will have so many people following them. And then they decide to pick up the mic. And now because they decide to pick up the mic, their voice becomes more powerful than yours and mine's.
Yeah.
And then when they even come in the room with you, they begin to they really think, because they will tell you, I have more views than you.
As if that matters.
And then people would believe that that's a mathematical
it's a metric. I think that's a valid metric.
Yes. So they would realize that they would believe that's a metric that's measuring what they say is measuring.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Nah. I mean, a lot of it is short-lived. A lot of it is not, there's not long-term success and not long-term impact. I mean, but it's like vampires though. I don't know how long vampires live. They live forever after they become vampires. I have to pick up a better one than this. Then the analogy has to work. But vampire in Brooklyn lived for a long time.
Well, we have to do. I can't use vampires. Is they like zombies? Do zombies die?
What do you gotta do? Stab them in the brain?
Okay, vampires, you gotta stab them with something wood or something across in the chest and all that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, let me. I don't need that analogy. I'll just give the before I lose it. Is that although they're short-lived, someone else replaces them.
Yeah, it's a pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it doesn't matter because it's short-lived, but they had so much impact, and even when on their downfall, they still have more influence than some people. You know what I mean?
Because you're still getting exposure, even on your downfall, you're still getting attention.
And it's this.
That's what it's about.
And it's systemic, and it is a part of this. I call it. I forgot what I called it yesterday in my class, but I call it algorithmic oppression or something. And the algorithm is definitely in the service of the status quo.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna shut up because I want to hear you just whatever we haven't been able to get to. I'm gonna give you space to drop that and take us out.
Oh, okay. Well, what I would like to encourage is for parents of young people, right, to do the best that you can to stand up to your mathematical fears, your fears of mathematics, so that way you can be a resource for your children. I want to encourage you to attempt to be the primary educator in terms of mathematics, other subjects as well, but I'm going to focus on mathematics. Become the primary educator for your children, right? Be in partnership with their school teachers, but becoming a primary educator. Now, what does that look like? That's much easier said than done. There are resources that I create, like the YouTube channel, my first book, How to Use All This Math, Volume 1, where I show us, because the main issue is like time. We lack time. We have jobs. We got to take care of our children. We got to go grocery shopping. We got to take people to basketball practice. We got to do all these things, which is reality. So what I try to do is create content and examples of where we can use math that are integrated into the activities that we're already doing. Right. And if we do those things on a regular basis, then you too, regardless of your walk of life or your background, your children can have an experience like that of the children of math teachers. One of the things that I always said,
they have what of like a math teacher?
An experience, a life experience, meaning this. One of the things I always said was I never wanted my children to see a concept in math class for the first time, meaning they would have learned about slope with me, or they learned about y equals mx plus b with me, or they learn how to multiply using different methods like area model or lattice method or different methods with me. If they see it in school, then that means they've already seen it. They're seeing it for the second or third time in school. So it's being reinforced. What that does is that takes some of the power away from the public schools. So we don't have to be as worried about some of their decision making, or if your child is not in a high quality public school, we don't have to worry about that as much, right? Because school becomes a space for practice, whereas the home becomes the space for primary education and primary instruction. Right. So that involves a huge paradigm shift, because for a very long time we've been conditioned to outsource education. A part of good parenting is find the best school for your children. And then we have to get into the conversation of how do you define best? Like, what is a good school even look like? What's the criteria? Right. But if you as a parent are able to develop your own skill set so that you can assume the responsibility of being a primary educator, then the school can become secondary. And that's really what we want. We really want that power over the education of our children. And I know a lot of parents may try to, or not be as motivated to go that route and become that primary educator for a few reasons. One is, of course, maybe they had negative experiences with in their own school experience, when they were in middle school, when they were in high school. Also, this belief that they could never do what a person with an education degree can do. And one of the things that motivates me to put this message out is, like, I've taught education majors. I've taught it at Cheney University and also at LaSalle University, and I've taught aspiring, kindergarten through 12th grade teachers. I've taught them math methods, where I've taught them how to teach math. And I realized that a lot of these things that I was teaching them while they were in my classes as college students, I could teach to brothers and sisters around the way and in the community. The typical brother and sister around the way, they're intelligent enough to understand this.
Yeah.
So I don't want, or I want people to stop believing that if you don't have an education degree or you don't have a college degree, then you won't be qualified to help your children. Right. There are things you can learn. You can learn, and you know your children better than anybody else. And that's a major component of being able to provide quality education, that relationship. If your children trust you, then that's a large part of, that's a large contributing factor to you being able to properly educate them. Oftentimes, like, the school teacher is not able to develop that trust and that rapport. So it makes it difficult to teach certain things, So I just want to encourage parents to start thinking about taking the power over primary education of their children. And also I have another ambitious goal where parents will be able to provide homework help as long as their child lives under their roof. And what does that look like? So if you have a child that's in 12th grade and they're taking pre-calculus or stats, then you'd be able to help them with pre-calculus or stats. you know, they're still living in your house. You know, now it's going to require work. It's not going to be easy. But again, I created resources so that, you know, parents will be able to find out like how to, you know, graph these polynomial functions. And, you know, I don't currently, but I will have videos dealing with z-scores and confidence intervals and t-tests and, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, so that we can take control of our education, you know, and math will be able to cease to be something that, you know, we run away from, you know, because I want, if you think about like the high stakes testing environment that a lot of schools are involved in enveloped in, schools have really become like, you know, test prep centers. And if you think about SAT prep, but SAT prep, and I've taught SAT prep, you know, many times. With SAT prep, even though Algebra 1 is on the SAT, Geometry is on the SAT, there's some data analysis, you know, a little bit of trigonometry. But during SAT prep, you're not really supposed to be teaching the raw content. SAT prep is really meant to enable students to have understand test-taking strategies and the best strategies for the SAT.
Yeah.
Since it's such a unique exam. So school is very similar to that. Like, you know, school is really about test prep for the state standardized tests. So we got to send our children already having certain prerequisites. And speaking of standardized tests, every parent, regardless of what state you live in, one of the things you can do is you can Google the state standardized test practice math tests. It might be practice problems from the previous school year, from two previous school years. But so you can get an idea of like what your children will be confronted with in the end of the school year when they take, you know, that state standardized test. And at a minimum, you'll be able to see, you know, what it is your child needs to know. You know, even if you can't necessarily teach it to them, but at least you know, okay, these are the types of problems, you know, and ideally you'd be able to help them with them.
You know, I have one thing I just kind of want to add to the conversation. And I appreciate all that you shared and are sharing. It's this other piece though that I think is not, and I think that's what you're saying it, and you're saying it, but I want to kind of like name it. That even those who haven't found themselves in what these quote unquote elite spaces is not because they couldn't be there or they can't be there. They haven't been prepared to be there. They haven't, the confidence haven't been instilled in them. It, you know, because and they have what you call certain measures like the SAT, the ACT, IQ tests, and all these type of things. They're supposed to measure your potential. But when you really look at it, a lot of these things have shown that they're not really measuring, especially those in our communities, and not even many communities, in fact, because if you had to do the math, if you had to do the statistics, you will find out that most of the people in our community, I'm not sure if it's most, I'm going to say most, I'm just going to throw it out there and fact check me later, that many of the people in our community who have degrees, and I'm not saying degrees the gold standard, I'm just giving an example due to the potential here, aren't supposed to have them. Because these very measures are supposed to be measuring your potential to earn such a thing.
You may not have scored as high on those exams. That's why, statistically,
and
based on those measurements,
right?
Okay,
because you didn't score high enough. But then you have then you have plenty of people in our community who say, you know what? I slowed down. Let me go back to school. Then they go back to school, you know. A little different than you. You said you kind of diverged and went back.
Yeah.
But you kind of started off on that track.
Yeah.
These people may have started on that track, but a little dream consciousness, no. Or maybe didn't start at all. And they say, you know what? Let me go to school. Or maybe the SAT score told them they weren't really good enough. and they didn't want to go to the junior college or what have you, whatever it was. But then if it was an accurate score of their potential, they would have not gone on later to earn these degrees, especially our sisters. A lot of our sisters have shown this, and a lot of our brothers too. But the tests themselves aren't measuring the potential. In fact, lots of schools have gotten rid of them.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about some of the more quote unquote prestigious schools. In fact, I'm talking about like in the Ivies.
Yeah.
And I know Loyola has gotten rid of them. And like these different schools have gotten rid of them. In fact, let me stop in facting. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of like just name that.
Yeah. I know somebody told me once upon a time that the SAT measures how well you know how to take the SAT.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's real. And I'm saying that these things are really talked about in psychology. We know this.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's math content. I mean, there's verbal content as well, but reading comprehension content. But on the math side, I mean, it's purposely structured to trip you up, and it's not straightforward. I think that's why the ACT has become more popular.
Verbal, yeah.
ACT is more, the math side of the ACT is more straightforward. Solve this equation, factor this expression. Similar to what you would see in a typical math textbook, or online math, coursework. But SAT, they're gonna test you on your understanding of concepts. Which another thing I want to say to parents is to embrace what many people call the new math, even though it's not new, but people call it the new math. It's really Common Core math, and a lot of these methods are ancient methods that go back to ancient Africa and the continent, just different ways of being flexible with numbers and being flexible with computation. And oftentimes, I think a lot of parents have a negative disposition already towards mathematics. So whenever you offer something new, they don't look at it as a gift or a benefit. They see it as a punishment because they're like, oh, you're giving me something else. But in fact, you want your children to have a diverse understanding of mathematics and have multiple methods of problem solving. That's what we want our children to have. So when your child comes home and, they're using this different method for division, it might be called partial quotients, but you learned long division 30 years ago. Embrace the partial quotients, because partial quotients is another way to divide. And it's a very effective way to divide. And also keep in mind that, it may not make sense initially, but it's like a lot of things. It requires practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there was a question for you before you get out, and I know you can definitely cap it off how you will. But this question here, I'm not sure what the intention is, but I'll just read it. It says, Dr. Dennis Ausar Winkler, could you please ask the guest if he has read the book White Malice by Susan Williams? It's about the CIA activity in Africa.
I have not, but that looks interesting. I need to add that to my list of books to acquire. I would like to, learn more about that, have more documented evidence. What the CIA has done on the continent.
Something's coming up in me. It's all that math.
All this math.
All this math.
Yeah.
It's also, there's something in me that's saying, I'm wondering if there's a need to also push as strongly. Maybe it's not your thing, but I know I would imagine it is. But there's so many people out here that are mathematically inclined, but very deficient on the other end of what you're talking about, why you created systematics.
Systematics, yeah.
And they're very
get the political and cultural awareness as well.
Yeah, they really struggle with it. I'm talking about, to some degree, it's a real struggle, even when you've been trained like that. I'm talking about even on an emotional level, it's a very difficult transition.
You think it's because in the midst of their training, they were led to believe that it was unimportant?
Yes, that's part of it.
Mm.
But also I would say that I think some of it is neurological. That's why I'm also thinking we should take that in consideration. That some people, their neurological makeup makes things like math a bit more accessible.
Mm.
And other people's neurological makeup, love and heart and the stuff that kills the math people. It's like, oh my God, why are you so like, or the logic, and we have to be real honest that we have a bit of that inside of us all. Like there's certain things, there's certain ways of being and existing in the world that kind of like triggers us, like, why are you so much, or why are you so little, or there's neurological wiring that I would also say is a both and, that people are born a certain way that makes certain things a little bit more accessible, easier, but there's also where people have been trained, which makes other ways of understanding less accessible. Because it goes against
the way they were
the way they've been trained.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, like, I've trained myself in a sense. Like, my father always had me in science and all this stuff, right? But I trained myself to be very scientific. So when I went back to school to get my master's degree, and they was like, it just depends. I'm talking about, like, when they were talking about like counseling and this, and it just depends. I'm like, it just depends. No, it don't just depend. Let's use the science. They're like, it just depends. It just depends. And I'm not by far saying I'm the worst, but I have students and they're like, hold up. They've been math teachers for the last 30 years and they come to school like, no, I need the answer.
Yeah.
I need the answer. And so go ahead. Yes,
well, that goes back to my belief that everything can be quantified.
Hell yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's why they want the answer.
Well, brother,
they want the answer.
And I'm telling you,
it can be quantified.
Absolutely, we would hope, we would wish, but nonetheless, that is what, in fact, that's a beautiful that coming back around, and you want the answer. But the thing is, uncertainty is a very difficult thing to sit in when everything has to be quantified.
Well, I also would say this too. Sometimes there can be uncertainty about a specific answer, but there might be a range of values. That could be, that's actually an answer, a range of values. If we say, well, it falls between, like, X might be in this interval.
But that means
value of X might be in this interval between 312 and 387.2. So it's not an exact answer, but there's an infinite amount of numbers in that interval.
That means you have some gray.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, some people don't have that gray.
They don't have it. They want a specific. They can't be. I mean, they gotta accept that. I mean, even if you're solving an inequality, X might be. I mean, there's going to be intervals of. There's going to be multiple solutions, like, especially when we deal with solving inequalities. There's multiple solutions. Like, X could be, if I say X is greater than 3, that means that any number in the whole universe greater than 3 is going to be a solution.
No, they want an answer.
Well, then they're blocking themselves out of a lot of accepted mathematics already.
But
they want
it's a real
specific. If they always want a specific,
but it's a real thing.
Or maybe they might say X is greater than 3 is the specific answer to them, even though it includes a large set of elements,
right,
within an infinite number of elements. They will look at that as a specific answer, I guess.
Now, that's if they were doing research that would be befitting, but I'm talking about when they're actually dealing with other human beings. So if they were the methodologists in some research project, that would make sense. But to make that make sense when you're dealing with humans becomes a problem. Or why can't people just see this? Or why,
well, see, I'm of the belief that I know there's a reason for. I may not know the reason, but I just believe that enough research has not been done to find the reason for why that is. But I think that there's a reason for everything, or an answer to everything, or a way to quantify everything. Even if I haven't seen it, I might not have the answer. and it might not be for me to.
You're
find.
saying though that it's not beyond scope to at some time in the future to derive at that particular answer or what have you.
Yeah, I think maybe sometime in the future. Yeah, yeah, I'm confident.
Everything.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, and we just haven't done it yet. If we don't have the answer, we just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
We could figure it out. We might not know how.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it could happen.
Chat GPT. He's somewhat.
Chat GPT could be dangerous. They could be a dangerous thing, man. I'm reading Digital Delusion. I mean, I already had my thoughts about it, but I'm reading Digital Delusion right now, and I'm on chapter 6. He's talking about AI and whatnot. The author calls it a solution that's looking for a problem.
Back up. You think that at some point man would have figured out everything? That's a question.
So figured out everything or be able to quantify everything? I don't know if man can figure out everything.
Well, when I say figure out everything, I'm saying quantify everything. Yes. I mean, to quantify everything mean like.
Yeah, I don't think I'm equating those things. I don't think I'm figuring out everything, because I need to think more about that.
Yeah.
Will man figure out everything at some point? Nah. So I don't. Okay. Yeah. Based on my understanding of mathematics, I don't think we'll ever figure out everything, because then we'd have to know everything.
So then you think
it's possible to know everything, or know how to do everything, or how to create everything. But I think of the things that we can identify, I think things can be measured and quantified.
Okay.
That's my point.
Now we get a little closer to.
Yeah, because now I'm saying that's what you thought I was equating that to, but yeah, knowing everything, I'd have to think more about that.
Well, even if you didn't say knowing everything, even if the way you were saying it before, now it doesn't matter. But what you just said is something very different.
Okay.
This little slight little. Well, it's kind of like everything we know, we
can quantify.
We can quantify, but I think we can still have a conversation around that.
Yeah.
What do we know?
What do we know? So
what
do they call that? Is that? And I always these words always challenge me. Is it epistemology? Or is it ontology?
How you know what you know?
How you know what you know? Okay. Yeah, those are things worth thinking about.
All right,
worth considering.
See, because people who get stuck in the numbers do kind of think that way. That's what I'm really saying. But it causes issues. I'm not talking about you, but it causes issues in their. I think you're seasoned enough to do research, study culture, and all these things. Mm-hmm. But lots of people, that shit don't mean nothing to them. That's some like you start off. That's some inferior stuff. History is inferior.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I mean, I won't call some names out, but I have some colleagues that I've heard say, if you don't want to do this, you go over to the history department. Like, okay, I'll call out one person.
That's compartmentalization. That's a Western.
They say history is easy. Go there, and then and they got more history professors. Then I thought about it. History is not easy, and most of us are not in history majors. That's a lie.
I mean, so I'll say this: based on the criteria that is required to get into that arena. It may be easier than some other fields. However, to be elite at it, I think it's probably equally as difficult to be elite at anything, regardless of what the discipline or subject is. Because being a great historian, I'm sure that takes a great deal of work.
No, I'm certain
being a great mathematician takes a great deal of work.
But I am certain to many of us, when we think of history, that almost sounds like math to us. Social studies is not our jam. History is not our jam. We don't like, it's like math and history. Like, oh no, it's like, no, I'm supposed to learn about dates and times and genres and eras and
yeah, I think that's a marketing issue, because like the way it's been marketed, you know, it's very fascinating to me. I mean, it's what happened. I mean, we want to know what you probably want to know what happened.
Both ways, though. What I'm saying is that history to people seems very hard. Like, they feel like people who talk history is talking like people. A lot of people talk history are talking like mathematicians.
Okay.
It sounds like Charlie Brown to them. It's like wah, wah, wah. And I realize how many people don't know history.
History to me,
and I'm not saying we're gonna ever know all history, but I'm saying don't know, like, that history is not even on their radar.
History to me just sounds like, you know, my grandmother, you know, telling a story about something she was doing when she was a young child. So whether I'm, you know, listening to that or reading about, we talked about the Haitian Revolution earlier. It sounds similar to me when I hear it.
What sounds similar?
My grandmother telling a personal history and the history of like Haitian Revolution or different, you know, slave rebellions.
I still think that's your mathematical mind.
Think so?
Your history is not a it takes a very disciplined, it takes a high level of discipline. Like, well, it's not fascinating to people like that. Like, you know, you kind of like
I think I have a bias. Well, my father's a history teacher for 40 years, and I grew up in that type of household.
Yeah.
So I think it was normalized for me.
Kind of like what you did with your children in math.
Yeah. Math was normalized for them.
Yeah, like, yeah, and so it's good to see through other people's lenses. Like, and I've heard people like, well, history is no, you gotta really think about it. And we don't have a lot of historians. That's a fallacy. I look up things like, you know, I'm really into statistics. I ain't with all the look. I challenge everybody on their statistics. That's why I'm very specific on how I talk. Well, let me say most. Let me say many. Hold up. I don't know this answer, but let me be very clear that this is my thought. You know, what I'm saying is, no, history is not up there in the numbers of black people just going into those majors. Yeah. Although we've been told that that's the case. How many black historians you know?
Do you think? But
your dad?
Yeah, I mean, but do you think that that's because of a belief in a lack of ability, or because of
I think
people have concerns about like, you know, income level, or
all of that is a part of it? But in fact, it takes discipline to sit down and read and remember that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of reading. Yeah.
And who wants to sit down and learn dates and times and eras and genres? And I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying I don't have some level of interest in that. I am saying it is difficult. I'm not saying it's not attainable. And what I mean by difficult is rigorous.
Okay. Yeah.
And what people, and I heard people like, oh no, you just go over to that and do that. No, it's not that easy. In fact, you have to be very disciplined to be a practitioner of history, not just because dates and times, because you didn't have to be disciplined because it requires a little bit of all these things. It requires you to hold multiple variables simultaneously, and it requires you to put some meat on the bone, on the frame. It's that part of it, and then it's the linear part of it. It's a both and type of approach. Then you got to read.
Yeah. You got to analyze. You got to analyze.
You have to analyze
what you read,
and you have to think,
make meaning of it.
Yes.
Like, what does this mean?
You have to draw conclusions from, yes.
Yeah.
From what, and then we're just talking about people who read history. Yeah. We're not talking about people, historians that are going to archives and databases and going to the land and doing these type of things. We're talking about, read history. And we think we're historians because we read something.
And read multiple accounts from the same time period and about the same. It gets even more complicated because then you have people with different, you know, historical approaches that are reporting on the same thing that happened. So then you got to decide, okay, well, whose story, whose version do we accept or do we go with?
So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to look, I've been doing a lot of pushing you today, is that you have something beautiful called histomatics.
Yeah.
But I want to hear you push that histo side too, because that, again, both of those are almost, I would argue, parallel in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, historians have to find a way to make a living.
Yeah.
And I know too many people went and got engineering degrees, and also the research and data shows that they don't, as a Black engineer, you ain't doing so much greater.
So yeah, with histomatics,
mm-hmm.
in my normal travels,
mm-hmm.
I push the history side of, well, that's why it begins with history. The history part comes
first.
Because really what ends up happening is, imagine, somebody was providing a history lesson, but then within that history lesson, we're using the history lesson
mm-hmm.
as an opportunity to do quantitative analysis.
Yeah.
So if we say,
go ask people,
when Douglas
mm-hmm.
got sent from,
mm-hmm.
what was it, Talbot County
mm-hmm.
to Baltimore.
Yeah.
When he was young and he meets,
mm-hmm.
he's living with the man and the woman's trying to teach him how to read. And then her husband comes home and basically cusses her out and tells, what the hell are you doing? You can't
mm-hmm.
do that. And then
mm-hmm.
Douglas arrives at the
mm-hmm.
conclusion, knowledge will make you unfit to be a slave. And then we say, okay, well, what's the distance between Talbot County and Baltimore City? And if we were driving there today, using the distance rate time formula, driving at an average speed of 65 miles an hour, like how long would it take you to get there?
mm-hmm.
So if it's done properly, the hope is that because you created a word problem based
mm-hmm.
on Frederick Douglass's experience,
mm-hmm.
then you had to think about Frederick Douglass's experience and also do the math at the same time, that you'll be more likely to remember.
I'm just saying that you're a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you've, from this conversation, have accounted for your double gift. Mm-hmm. I'm not calling your double whatever practice, your double discipline.
Yeah.
Like, because that history, like you are under the assumption of what you just said people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that sounds like math to people. Frederick Douglass in Talbot County, and like who knows that? Like what I'm saying? Like
no, I know a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. And I'm saying like that sounds like X.
And that's the opportunity, because I'm like, okay, I know a lot of people don't know that. So now we get to have the history lesson, because a large part of it, the
mm-hmm.
outgrowth of it was, mm-hmm. I was a classroom teacher,
mm-hmm.
and I was, I had a section of geometry,
mm-hmm.
I had a section of stats or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but I'm reading this, Paul Robeson autobiography,
mm-hmm.
Here I Stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I got to teach this geometry, but
mm-hmm.
how can I how can I talk to my students about Paul Robeson and make it part of my lesson, right? So I already know my students don't know about Paul Robeson. A lot of them never even heard of him.
Right.
So I know that going in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the math content,
mm-hmm.
they don't know about that either. That's
mm-hmm.
why they're there, to learn,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, I get what you're saying.
And you have to have in order to think about things in a very historical, like what I'm saying, what's going on right now with, you don't have to delve into this, but this whole FBA, this whole retelling of history, the inability to contextualize things and look at things as it relates to that time and not this time, and not to conflate things, and not to
be anachronistic.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
All of that, right?
A lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in other words, saying that not utilizing today's values and methods and the things you know today, and try to put that on people in the past. That's what my brother is saying.
Yeah.
So,
and to your point, just read. We gotta just crack the books open. Just do that.
And then you
have
that
activity. Just read.
How daunting that is for people's minds.
And I get that. Oftentimes I've been thinking a lot about like what why do I like the idea of reading while so many people don't? And what is it? What experiences have I had? Because what I try to do in terms of marketing reading, try to use myself as like a test case. Like, why do I think reading is important? Why do I like to read? I didn't always, like in school, I really didn't like to read. I didn't really become a reader until I was into my teaching career, early in my teaching career. And I realized that the young brothers especially would ask me questions. They would have a lot of questions. And the questions weren't about math. The questions were just about life and about the world. And I said, man, I need to have some answers. They're asking a lot of questions. So that was one of the things that motivated me to, read. And then I remember when I had my second daughter, I was expecting my second child, my daughter. And I said, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing another child into the world. So I gotta turn up now. I gotta turn up even more. I gotta start reading some more. And then having elders and old heads around that valued reading and following certain scholars, and
it's something that you can't replace. You can't replace reading in the way that with anything, I would say, and how it opens up your mind to the world.
Yeah, a lot of my ideas are just from gathering information, but from reading the information. I listen to lectures. I appreciate listening to sometimes I'll watch old lectures on YouTube and I'll take notes.
Even that,
just as if I was there, and I got my notes, I'm notepad, and I'm listening.
Even that's difficult for people. I'm saying that we have to, as you're saying, we have to overcome these false barriers that we've set for ourselves. Well, we set for ourselves. We believe from the dominant society. What the dominant society has taught us, tying it back to miseducation of the Negro. Yeah. And we've brought into this idea that we can't do these things, that these things, it's just too much. Like literally people think, like you say, that math is not for them. They don't think that those lectures are for them. They think that they're not smart enough.
Right.
They think that reading in these history, in these long books, because they feel overwhelmed by them.
What people also, I'm glad you say that, because what I want people to think about is the fact that oftentimes it's a process. Yeah, in terms of developing that skill set. Because like if you're a person that is of that belief that reading is not for you and study is not for you, you're probably right. Yeah. Right now. Right. But if you commit to it, notice, when you do it on a regular basis, notice how you begin to feel about it, or what the experience is like maybe a month from now, 2 months from now. It's like a lot of things, like you will get better at it. Yeah. And I would say, I would just reframe it a bit to say the study is for you, is what you need. But the thing is that it's not going to be easy. Yeah. And it will become easier. Right. And it's for you. But like anything you start new, if you and I start something new today, it'll be a struggle that we have to go through. It's going to be a struggle. Such is life. But I think, again, back to the propaganda, I think it takes like people that already are participating in these activities, like yourself, myself. We have to figure out effective ways to market these activities and, make the people want to do them, and show them the value of it. Because a lot of times, like, if you don't see the value in it, then it's like, I may not want to go through that learning curve to get to that point where it starts. I might not believe you. Or at least even if I do believe you that it will become easier, I still got to go through that rough patch to get to that point. It's hard. And I like to tell people, like, because people think you just showed up and was so great. And that's why I think you was kind of like gatekeeping, like, hold up, brother. The difference between a gift and what was the other term? Skill, something like that. What was it? Gift and a skill, like a gift. Because I'm saying that sometimes gifts have to be developed. Yeah. Yeah. When I hear gift, I think
it can be seen like you just born with it. No, but what's the other word you use? I think that's why it's essential. What you were saying earlier is essential.
Was it skill?
It might have been skill. So that's why I'm saying you were like really you were putting emphasis on that not being taken out of context, and being very clear that skills require some nurturance. Yeah. Gotta do the work. Yeah, I appreciate
even me. So I think that's relevant to me, because when people encounter people like myself that have a skill set in anything, our first inclination is to think that they were born that way, that it was somehow like, you know, they came out the womb at this level of expertise. I understand when people say like, I'm never going to use this math, or when they believe that. There were moments when I was in high school when I said that. I remember sitting in poly in 11th grade, and I'm like, why do I need to know this shit, man? Like I really didn't know. I mean, I was going through the motions, and there was a certain status attached to going to poly. And I knew I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get out of my parents' house. I wanted to go get a degree and, you know, all of that and whatnot. But for a lot of it, I didn't really understand what the purpose was. So when people say these things, so oftentimes when I'm pushing back on these narratives, I'm talking to my younger self. And I want people to understand that they're like how people say they have math anxiety. I have math anxiety. It just doesn't overpower me. Like if I encounter a student that needs tutoring, and I'm like, okay, cool. We set up the tutoring session. I'm like, well, send me your work in advance so I can look over it. They send me the work. I look at it. If it looks like something that I'm not readily able to do, that anxiety, it tries to kick in. But because I've had so much success, far more success with math than failure, then I'm able to overpower it. And then I'll just say, okay, I'll come to my senses. And I'm like, just go online and look up a video or go in your library, grab one of your books. And it might be something that I've taught before, but I haven't seen it in like 10 years. Right. So the anxiety can be a real thing. And even I experienced that. And I think I'm glad you reminded me to say that, because a lot more people that are skilled at things, I think they need to be vulnerable like that to help other people. Right. You know, because there's a parent watching this, or somebody's mom, dad, grandmom, grandpa that, you know, may want to help their child or grandchild with math, but they feel like, I got math anxiety, I can't do it. And I'm like, I'm very good at math, and, you know, and I understand a lot of mathematical concepts, and I'm telling you that that's something that we have in common. The difference is I've had a lot of success at the math, so I'm able to overpower it. Whereas a lot of people, it's not that easy for them to overpower it. So they just they're stuck. They're stuck because they haven't had the success, which is able to refute the idea that they can't do it. So they just believe the idea that they can't do it. Right? So they've never developed the confidence. And that's another important point for people that are shying away from doing difficult things. I think that the only way to develop confidence is through doing difficult things. If you shy away from the difficult things, you'll never develop the confidence that comes with being able to do difficult things.
Yeah, you know, and I appreciate that, because I think that many people struggle with this notion that they can't master math or history or many things. But I would say, as one who studies humans, that I do want to kind of like I do want to say people do have, some things do come easier for some people. Okay. And that's a reality, because, and I do, and a lot of it does have to do with neurological makeup. And I just have to be real honest. Like, I mean, you have some, I don't know if you want to call it gifts. I would say gifts, or something at your veil that is a strength of yours. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I think it's also essential to respect people for all the things that they bring. Because people are different. So, but it's up to, like in traditional societies and cultures, they will find where you they will point out to you your gifts and how you carry the mission forward.
Okay.
So I would say, like, now I know one thing that I have that I know I have that is a secret weapon. You like, what is it?
Yeah, I am.
I have a high level of pattern recognition.
Okay.
So
you're a mathematician.
yes,
That's what math is.
but naturally though.
Okay. Yeah.
Not I'm saying naturally, like
that's probably why it came easy to you.
Yeah, and I like, and if I wanted to do that in that way,
yeah,
like I have a very high level of pattern recognition. Like, so that's why I'm able to go back in conversations and tie these things back together and say, you said this earlier, and I say, well, you know, such and such said this and this and so forth and so on, and pulling other things on multiple levels, and
like similar to like good comedians.
Like good comedians,
they tell
yes,
they introduce the joke at the beginning of the set, and then at the end of the set, they bring the joke, they bring it back around.
Absolutely. Now the difference between them, they could have did that and they could have wrote that out, because a lot of times they do that in writing.
Yeah.
Now for me, what I'm saying is, and you could do writing is all. If you suck at it, you kind of suck. I'm sorry for the language. You could not even write it. Some people, that's how that's not their strength, but they have strength in other areas.
Yeah.
So and what I realized, if I didn't realize that was my way, like that's a strength of mine, I would just think everybody else had it. And if we're not careful, then we'll have other people. We'll be looking at we'll continue that process of, you're not working hard enough. You're not. You're like, because we don't even, and many times we don't realize our own strengths.
Yeah.
And that everybody doesn't have the same strengths that we have. And some things do come easier for some people than others. Now, it might not be everybody, but I do know, like, I've never had to really study hard.
So I was different. I had to study hard.
See what I'm saying? So I can, but it depends. Like, I'm not doing equations all day.
I used to be jealous of people like you.
Like, so I'm reading the book and then I'll answer the answers on the test, but I'll pass the test, because even in the test itself, it's kind of like you do, what do they call it? Like, what do they call it? Like when you disqualify that which is least likely.
Elimination.
Yes. So me, I have that ability to do that. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is but then, and I think sometimes we're afraid to talk about our strengths, but it's okay, because everybody has different strengths. Like we talked about Gardner earlier.
Yeah,
I'm not like some people, like, for example, Gardner talks about linguistic ability, logical, mathematical, spatial. Some people's spatial ability is out of this world. Musical, interpersonal, and you can have multiple of these intelligences.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You was counting yours, right?
Yeah, I was trying to see. Yeah, I was
a naturalist, existential.
Okay,
so existential, for example, is considered by someone to involves exploring deeper questions about human existence. Everybody ain't that jam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
naturally, you're saying
that ain't their jam naturally.
Right.
So you, like, some people come out the womb saying,
but I want people to understand, to you, adding on to your point, that it's still possible. It just may take more work.
Right. But
it is different, may require different levels of work for different people based on their capacity they already have. What is it? Propensity?
To some people, that's like running up a hill.
So then you got to instill value in it. You got to let them know, like, okay, yeah, it's going to be difficult.
I mean, I'm sorry, running up a wall.
Run up a wall? Well, you got like, look.
Some people's like run up a hill, and some people's like this.
Once you get up that wall, it's going to be worth it. You know? That's
I know you might kill yourself trying to go up that wall.
We gotta
you might know. But I don't. Okay, to me, it's a both and. Getting back to a term you said earlier, and I appreciate it when you said it. You spoke about this both and. I was like, oh, in GIA, my theoretical approach, theory, philosophy, and model is both and is intricate and is I would say is in all things. But what I'm saying is, some people, I forgot where it was going, but
you said both and.
Yeah, I got that part, but how was I going to tie it back? But some people are people have natural. I'm saying people are wired a certain way, and why I'm going to both and. Okay, I got it. Is that we don't want to discourage people, and I'm hearing that from you,
right? Because some people say, well, I'm going to default to however I'm wired. And therefore, I'm only going to do the things that I'm wired naturally to do.
Well, I don't think there's something naturally wrong with that. Not that is, but the only difference, I would change it a bit. It's not that I'm only wired to do is that some things come easier for me.
Yeah.
And I'm great at these things. But in this society, it has taught us that these are the things you should be great at.
Okay.
In some ways, those paint our lenses or color our glasses to push people in these different areas just because they have the potential. But the reality is the society has to change the way that how it values people and their abilities.
Yeah.
So it's a both and.
This is back. So this reminds me of my point when you asked me the question earlier, like
Mhm.
what is the goal?
Yeah.
Like what's the end goal? So we get the critical mass of people that are thinking this way. So that would be probably one of the stipulations in the society that gets created. You know, and we use the math, develop the math skills, which in turn are simultaneously developing our critical thinking skills. So we can first realize that we need that. And that if we want that, we can have that. And then we think of ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
Think of ways to, you know, figure out like how to change the society.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
It's not an easy thing.
And I think that in all reality, that what you're doing is a needed work, because too many of us who are, for lack of a better term, or just following suit, wired that way, don't realize they have that potential. Those who have those strong suits and that ability don't even realize it because no one told them they could. No one identified in them that they have that ability. Now, I would imagine that you, when you start hearing somebody talk, you would say, "Oh, bro, man, you will be good at math, B."
Yeah. But a lot of times, in addition to them not being told that they could do it, somebody or multiple people told them that they can't.
Right.
They explicitly told them, you can't do that.
Right.
You're not gonna be good at that. And they believe that because it might have been a person that they respected, a person that might have been a parent, might have been a grandparent, might have been somebody that actually genuinely loved them.
Yeah.
And looked out for them. And so they say, well, why wouldn't I believe this person?
And like you said earlier, in multiple ways, sometimes in indirect ways.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a both and there are people, and I would say, I would argue to look at some research, right? And I'm saying people had the potential, but I also think to widen it just a bit, that is essential that we also realize that part of the way that we look at these things, because I hear that my brothers and sisters in academia and even in the movement, as you said earlier, that there's still this Western way of looking at things that puts greater emphasis on certain things. Making things, more or less elite even, and sometimes we don't necessarily, well, some of us know, because we definitely believe it. I mean, I hear it. I hear it in our communities. I won't name names, but they definitely are continuing the white fights of what is more superior and what is less superior.
Yeah.
What is more needed. And that's why I asked the question, like, why do we need this? You know what I mean? Because now, do we need math to build bombs, guns, a new society? Do we need it to get the good jobs, or like whatever different reason it is? Most of the people that you spoke, like the people you were talking about earlier, they're literally saying something different than you. They are saying to get these jobs and go and leave your community. You made it out, and sometimes you can give back. But for me, how do you give back to your community? I think there's an obligation to your community.
I think so too.
I think we should reframe some of these things, right? And like you spoke about earlier, but there's a lot, I'm not you, but there's many people who actually still operate from under these rules and these lenses, these Eurocentric worldviews, as you started, but they put dashikis on. They put Black Power fist on. I mean, they do all the things. They're leftists. They're all the things, but they still. We all are trying to unlearn and relearn, as Dr. Woodson spoke about.
Yeah.
So there's a constant attack, but I think that is essential that we do check that.
You gotta identify it.
Yeah, we have to.
You gotta know that it's there.
Identify and constantly fight through it.
Yeah.
Because it's in us. But brother, closing words. How do the people follow you? Brother Tyran, look, it's past his bedtime over there.
So definitely go to YouTube. All of This Math on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share. Drop some comments. Go down the rabbit hole. Got over 1,000 videos, ranging from arithmetic up to calculus, and almost 9,000 subscribers. We started back in 2020.
I see.
Yeah. So there's YouTube, All This Math, TikTok, All This Math, Instagram, All This Math, Facebook, All This Math. Also my website, allthismath.com. Allthismath.com on the website. If you're interested in my book, there's a link to my book on my website, allthismath.com. But yeah, let's embrace the math. Let's run toward the math, not run away from it, like we often tend to do.
I see. I think I really appreciated this conversation. You're a philosopher as well.
Oh,
I like philosophical people. I don't, so family, our dear brother dropped some jewels in here today. Again, we entitled this particular episode 100 Years After Woodson, Divide and Conquer Tactics in Public Schooling, and I say and beyond. The miseducation that is essential to identify the miseducation and having to really be intentional about unlearning and relearning so that we can liberate ourselves and our people. And as my dear brother said, don't run away from the math. You can do it. A lot of us can really, I'm going to say a lot of us can do it. And a lot of us can do a lot of things. And I really, truly have tried to live my life to be a beacon in that sense. Like literally, I do lots of things. I think I even told you this before. I can't remember. We had a long conversation some years ago. I can't remember how, maybe it was about 3-4 years ago now. 2022. I think it was in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, that was about 4 years ago. And but I try to be a beacon to what is possible. In fact, I put Northern on, not to rep Northern, right? But to rep Northern in a way to say, or Baltimore on, or even Baltimore, Northern, even my neighborhood to say, look what's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm gangster, not that I'm hard, none of that. You know what I mean? But to say, look at what is possible. You know what I mean? Because like you, I grew up in a household and lots of times people been robbed, but I grew up in a household with mother and father, lived in an area that was, it was on the cusp of things. But at the same time, I realized my father was financial. My mother was at home. I can't take those things for granted. I was educated through an African Senate framework. I was taught about my history and culture. That's why during this Black History Month, I ain't doing that. I told them I'm centering all things Black. I am not doing this segmenting. I wanted you to come up with some word to say, segmenting, and I know you can look at that on a whole mathematical level. I would love to hear that actually.
Geometric. There are segments within circles.
Mm-hmm.
And when you study the circle geometry.
Yeah. So I would like to hear, because this segmentation or segmenting of our people is out of fear. And it's not even, in fact, what I want to also argue is that what they believe is going to happen is not even mathematically. You started off saying it doesn't add up.
No.
You cannot, and I'll close out by saying African American history is so powerful. There is no usurping it. And if you include all things Black, you can't go wrong. Because I think you said it earlier, because it's still us. And you said the Haitian Revolution is, you say, I see them as my brothers and sisters. That's my lens.
Yeah.
So there's no separation there.
Right.
And I feel like all Black history is my history. I don't care if you came from the East Coast of Africa or the West Coast or South Africa or Jamaica. You know what I mean? All of that is my history.
Yeah. Steve Biko's history is my history.
Yes, I share. Black consciousness, family. So, family, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and like this video, thumb up this video. And I really appreciated my conversation with my dear brother. I think I saw something else, a question. I looked past it. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe if you didn't. Go over to brother Professor Parker's platform on YouTube. Make sure you go over there and subscribe and share the many great works that he has going on. And as we always do, we close out with, I think, a kindred elder of ancestor that Brother Akil and I really respect, appreciate, and aspire to be in many ways. Until next time, peace and power.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.